On our Hawaii trip, my wife's male family best friend kicked down my hotel room door at 2 a.m. screaming, "I want that room." "Now," my wife said, "just do what he wants." So I quietly left, and he slept on the same bed with my wife. So I canceled every payment. The next morning, when they woke up, oh my God, you won't expect what happened. If you've ever felt invisible in your own marriage, you know the sound silence makes. It's not the absence of noise, it's the presence of something darker, something that wraps around your throat like warm water, gentle at first, then suffocating. I should have known something was wrong when Maya insisted on the Hawaii trip. We'd been married for 6 years. 6 years of what I thought was partnership, of late-night conversations and shared dreams, of building something together from nothing. We lived modestly, a 2-bedroom apartment in Portland. My salary from the accounting firm covering most expenses, her freelance graphic design work paying for the extras. We weren't rich, but we were comfortable. Or so I thought. The Hawaii trip came out of nowhere. A Thursday evening in March, the kind of gray, drizzling day that makes Portland feel like it's wrapped in wet newspaper. I came home from work to find Maya at the kitchen table, her laptop open, eyes bright with an excitement I hadn't seen in months. "Daniel," she said, and there was something in her voice, a tremor maybe, or anticipation. "I booked us a trip. Hawaii. 2 weeks. We leave next Friday." I stood in the doorway, briefcase still in hand, trying to process. "Hawaii? Maya, we talked about this. We're saving for the house down payment. That's $15,000 we've scraped together. We can't just—" "It's already booked," she interrupted, that brightness in her eyes sharpening into something else, something that looked almost like defiance. "We need this, Daniel. We need to reconnect. When was the last time we did something spontaneous? Something just for us?" The last spontaneous thing we'd done was grab Thai food on a Tuesday instead of cooking. That had felt rebellious enough. But I loved her. God help me. I loved her with a kind of quiet, steady devotion that didn't need grand gestures to prove itself. So I set down my briefcase, walked to the table, and looked at the screen. Maui. The Grand Wailea Resort, Ocean View Suite. The numbers made my accountant's brain scream, but I swallowed the protest. "Okay," I said, "if you think we need this." She smiled then, but it didn't reach her eyes. "We do. Trust me. Trust me." Those words would echo later, hollow and mocking. But in that moment, I chose to believe them. The first sign should have been the text message. We were at the airport, sitting at our gate, when Maya's phone buzzed. She glanced at it, and her face transformed, softened, brightened, became something I didn't quite recognize. Her fingers flew across the screen, typing a response, and she was smiling that smile again, the one that didn't include me. "Who's that?" I asked, trying to keep my voice casual. "Oh," she didn't look up. "Just Marcus. He's excited for us." Marcus. Marcus Hale. The name alone made my jaw tighten. Marcus was, according to Maya, her family's best friend. They'd grown up together, him and Maya's older brother James, practically brothers themselves, she always said. Marcus had been at our wedding, giving a toast that was just a little too long, just a little too focused on memories that didn't include me. He worked in tech, something vague with startups and venture capital, the kind of job that meant he was either brilliantly successful or elaborately unemployed. I'd met him maybe a dozen times over the years. Each time, he had this way of looking at Maya, not overtly inappropriate, nothing I could point to and say, "There, that's wrong." But there was a familiarity between them that made me feel like a visitor in my own relationship. "Why is Marcus excited about our vacation?" The question came out sharper than I intended. Maya finally looked up, her expression carefully neutral. "Because he knows we've been stressed. He's happy we're taking time for ourselves." The announcement for boarding cut off my response. We gathered our carry-ons and joined the line, and I told myself I was being paranoid. Marcus was just a friend, a childhood friend. That's what Maya always said, and I had no reason not to believe her. No reason, my mind whispered, except the way she lights up when his name appears on her screen. The flight was 5 hours of manufactured calm. Maya read a magazine, occasionally showing me pictures of restaurants we should try or beaches we should visit. I pretended to sleep, my mind churning through bank statements and budgets, trying to figure out how we'd recover from this financial hit. The thing about being an accountant is that you see patterns. Numbers tell stories, and lately, our numbers had been telling one I didn't like. Unexplained charges on Maya's credit card. Nothing huge, just 50 here, 80 there, adding up to hundreds over months. When I'd asked about them, she'd been vague. Coffee with friends. Materials for work. Things she'd forgotten to mention. I'd let it go. That was my mistake. We landed in Maui just as the sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink that looked almost artificial, too beautiful to be real. The warm air hit us like a embrace as we walked out of the airport, and despite everything, I felt a flicker of hope. Maybe Maya was right. Maybe we did need this. The resort was exactly the kind of place I never imagined we'd stay. Marble floors, orchids everywhere, staff members who smiled like they genuinely cared about your happiness. Our room was on the 6th floor, ocean view as promised, with a balcony that overlooked the pool, and beyond it, the Pacific stretching to the horizon. "It's perfect," Maya breathed, dropping her bag and walking straight to the balcony. I followed her, standing close enough that our shoulders touched. The breeze carried the salt-sweet smell of the ocean, and below us, I could hear laughter from the pool, the distant sound of Hawaiian music from the restaurant. "It is perfect." I agreed, and meant it. We went to dinner that night at the resort's main restaurant, a place where the menu didn't list prices. Never a good sign for someone who counts pennies for a living. But Maya ordered the mahi-mahi. I got the steak, and we shared a bottle of wine that cost more than our weekly grocery budget. She talked about her work, about a new client who wanted a complete rebrand, about color theory and font psychology. I listened, watching the candlelight play across her face, remembering why I'd fallen in love with her in the first place. She had this intensity when she talked about design, this passion that made her whole face come alive. "I love you," I said, interrupting a story about vector graphics. She paused, wine glass halfway to her lips. "I love you too, Daniel." But there was that hesitation again, that half-second delay that shouldn't have been there. We walked back to our room holding hands, the path lit by tiki torches that cast dancing shadows on the palm trees. Maya was on her phone, "Just checking something for work," she said, and I told myself to stop being paranoid, to stop looking for problems where there weren't any. In the room, we made love, with a desperation that felt more like goodbye than reunion. She fell asleep quickly afterward, her breathing deep and even, while I lay awake, staring at the ceiling and listening to the ocean. The clock on the nightstand glowed green, 11:47 p.m. I didn't know, couldn't have known, that in 2 hours and 13 minutes, my entire world would shatter. The first sound was a crash. I jolted awake, disoriented, my heart already racing. The room was dark except for the pale moonlight coming through the balcony doors. Maya stirred beside me, mumbling something incoherent. Then came the pounding. Not knocking pounding. Fists on wood, brutal and insistent. "What the hell?" I threw off the covers, stumbling toward the door. "Open up!" A male voice, muffled but angry. "I know you're in there." I looked through the peephole, and my stomach dropped. Marcus Hale stood in the hallway, wearing jeans and a rumpled t-shirt, his face red and twisted with something that looked like rage or entitlement, or both. "Daniel?" Maya was awake now, sitting up in bed. Even in the darkness, I could see the panic on her face. Not confusion, not surprise, panic. "It's Marcus," I said, and my voice sounded strange even to my own ears. Flat, distant. The pounding intensified. "Maya, I know you're in there! Open this fucking door!" I looked at my wife. "What is he doing here?" She opened her mouth, closed it, opened it again. Daniel, I can explain. Before she could finish, before I could process what was happening, the door exploded inward. Not opened, not unlocked, exploded. Marcus had kicked it, actually kicked it with enough force that the lock mechanism gave way and the door slammed against the interior wall. He stood in the doorway, chest heaving, eyes wild, and for a moment, just a moment, I thought I was dreaming. This couldn't be real. This couldn't be happening. "I want this room," Marcus said, his voice cold and clear now, cutting through my shock. Now, I stared at him. "What?" "You heard me." He stepped into the room, and I could smell alcohol on him, sour and aggressive. "This room, it's mine." "Marcus, you can't just—" I started, but he cut me off. "Can't I? Watch me, Maya." He looked past me, and his face softened. "Tell him." I turned. Maya was still in bed, the sheet pulled up to her chin, and she was crying, silent tears streaming down her face, and she wouldn't meet my eyes. "Maya," I said, and I hated how my voice broke on her name. "What is going on?" "Daniel." She finally looked at me, and what I saw in her eyes killed something in me. Guilt, fear, and underneath it all, resignation. Just do what he wants. Please. Don't make this harder than it has to be." The words hit me like a physical blow. "Don't make this harder. You want me to leave?" I couldn't believe I was saying the words. "Our room? In the middle of the night? Because I couldn't even finish the sentence." "Please, Daniel." Her voice was barely a whisper. "Just for tonight. We'll figure this out in the morning. Just go." Marcus was smirking now, and I wanted to hit him. God help me. I wanted to break his nose, watch the blood flow, make him hurt the way I was hurting. But I'm not a violent man. I've never been a fighter. So instead, I looked at my wife, this woman I'd built a life with, this woman I'd trusted with everything, and I saw a stranger. "Fine," I said. I grabbed my phone from the nightstand, shoved my feet into my shoes, took my wallet from the dresser, didn't pack anything else, didn't look back. As I walked past Marcus, he clapped me on the shoulder. "Thanks, buddy. I knew you'd be reasonable." I shrugged off his hand and kept walking. The door broken, useless, hung at an angle behind me. I heard it close, heard the scrape of furniture being pushed against it from the inside, heard Maya's voice, low and urgent, saying something I couldn't make out. Then, silence. I stood in the hallway of the Grand Wailea Resort at 2:13 a.m., wearing nothing but boxer shorts and a t-shirt, holding my phone and wallet, and I realized I was shaking. Not from cold, from rage. The kind of rage that burns clean and cold, that clarifies instead of clouding, that turns soft men into something harder. I walked to the elevator, descended to the lobby, and found a quiet corner with a leather armchair that faced the windows. Outside, the ocean was invisible in the darkness, but I could hear it, the endless rhythm of waves against shore, indifferent to human drama. I opened my phone, and I started making calls. There's a particular quality to darkness before dawn. It's not the same as midnight darkness, heavy and complete. Pre-dawn darkness is thinner, anticipatory, like the world is holding its breath before exhaling into light. I sat in that leather armchair in the Grand Wailea lobby, watching that darkness slowly leak away, and I made the kind of decisions that would either save my life or destroy what was left of it. The first call was to my bank. "First National Fraud Department. This is Kevin speaking. How can I help you?" The voice was cheerful, professionally sympathetic, completely unprepared for what I was about to say. "My name is Daniel Chen. Account number 4782916328847. I need to report fraudulent charges and freeze all joint accounts immediately." There was a pause, the sound of typing. "Mr. Chen, I'm showing your account is joint with Maya Chen, my wife." "Yes. And you're reporting fraud?" I looked out at the ocean, now barely visible as a line of darker gray against lighter gray. "I'm reporting that I did not authorize the charges for this Hawaii trip. The resort booking, the flights, none of it. I want those transactions disputed and all joint accounts frozen as of this moment." More typing. A longer pause. Sir, I see these charges were made from an authorized device linked to your wife's profile. Disputing them might be complicated. I don't care how complicated it is. My voice was calm, eerily calm. Do it anyway. And while you're at it, I want to know every charge made from any joint account in the last 6 months. Email me a complete statement. That could take some time to compile. I have time. I checked my phone. 3:47 a.m. I have all the time in the world. By the time I hung up, the bank representative had flagged the Hawaii charges as disputed, frozen our joint checking and savings accounts, and promised a full audit by end of business day. Our joint credit cards, 3 of them, would be canceled and reissued in my name only within 72 hours. The second call was to American Express. The third was to Chase. The fourth was to the resort billing department. I understand you're upset, Mr. Chen, the night manager said, his voice professionally soothing in that way that service industry workers perfect over years of dealing with difficult guests. But the room was booked and paid for under your wife's name. The credit card authorization went through. I'm not sure what we can do at this hour. The credit card that was used has been reported as fraudulent. I interrupted. The charge is being disputed, which means, as of right now, you have a guest in room 614 who hasn't actually paid for their accommodation. Silence. Then, I'll need to speak with my manager. You do that. And while you're at it, check who else is registered to that room, because I guarantee you'll find that Marcus Hale isn't on the booking, which means he broke into a room that wasn't his, damaged hotel property, the door, specifically, and is currently trespassing. The night manager's voice had lost some of its smoothness. Sir, if there's been a domestic incident, there's been a fraud incident? I corrected. And a property damage incident, and possibly a trespassing incident. But you're right. I should probably talk to hotel security about that. I hung up and immediately dialed security. The beautiful thing about being an accountant is that you understand systems. Banks, credit cards, hotels, they all run on systems, policies, procedures. And every system has pressure points, places where the right amount of force applied at the right angle can make the whole structure shift. By 4:30 a.m., I had frozen all joint bank accounts, disputed the Hawaii trip charges, canceled all joint credit cards, filed a formal complaint with hotel security about the broken door, requested a full investigation into the guest in room 614, transferred half of our joint savings into a new individual account, changed all my banking passwords, enabled 2-factor authentication on everything, and I was just getting started. The sun rose at 5:47 a.m. I know because I watched it happen, watched the sky shift from gray to pink to orange to that particular shade of blue that only exists in Hawaii, clean and sharp and utterly indifferent to human suffering. The lobby began to wake up around me. Staff arriving for morning shifts, early rising guests heading out for sunrise, yoga, or morning swims. A woman in a hotel uniform approached me twice, asking if I needed anything, if I was all right. I told her I was fine. I was waiting for someone. It wasn't entirely a lie. At 6:15 a.m., my phone buzzed with an email from First National Bank. Subject line, Account Activity Report, last 6 months. I opened it, and there it was, the story I'd been too afraid to read, written in charges and transfers and cash withdrawals. February 14th, $250 withdrawal. Cash. Notation. ATM. Downtown Portland. February 14th, $180 charge. Cascade Room Restaurant. 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 February 14th, $95 charge. Merchant, Powell's Books. Valentine's Day. I'd worked late that night, closing out month-end reports. Maya had said she was having dinner with her mother. The Cascade Room was a romantic restaurant. Not the kind of place you go alone or with your mother. I scrolled further. January 8th, $340 charge. Portland Airport parking. January 8th. 2 charges. $89 and $94. Merchant. Various. Seattle area. January 8th. I'd been in San Francisco for a work conference. Maya had said she was staying home, working on client projects. December 22nd. $450 charge. Northwest Adventure Outfitters. I knew this one. She'd said she was buying me a Christmas present, told me not to look at the statements. I'd thought it was sweet, trusting, but there'd been no expensive gift under the tree. Just a sweater from Nordstrom Rack, nice enough, probably $60. The list went on, and on, and on. 6 months of charges that told a story Maya had never shared with me. Dinners, hotels, trips, purchases that added up to thousands, no, tens of thousands of dollars. Money that came from our joint accounts, from the house fund we'd been building, from the future we were supposedly planning together. My hands were steady as I scrolled through the statement. That cold rage from earlier had crystallized into something harder, something purposeful. At 7 a.m., I called my lawyer. Daniel? Robert Maxwell sounded groggy, confused. It's 7 in the morning, on a Saturday. This better be. I need to file for divorce. Silence. Then I heard rustling, the sound of him sitting up. What? I'm in Hawaii. My wife is currently in bed with another man, in the hotel room I paid for, after he kicked down the door and demanded I leave. And I just found 6 months of financial infidelity in our joint accounts. So yes, Robert, I need to file for divorce. Right now. Today. This morning. Robert had been my lawyer for 3 years, handling the legal work when I'd started my side consulting business. He was good, thorough, discreet. Daniel, he said carefully, I need you to take a breath and tell me exactly what happened. So I did. All of it. The trip, the text messages, the 2 a.m. door kicking, Maya's just do what he wants, the broken door, the charges, everything. When I finished, Robert was quiet for a long moment. Okay, he finally said. First, don't do anything else. Don't confront them. Don't talk to Maya. Don't post on social media. Nothing. Second, document everything. Photos of the broken door, recordings if you can get them, copies of all financial statements. Third, I'll start drafting divorce papers, but they won't be ready until Monday at the earliest. What about the accounts? I've already frozen the joint ones. Good, that's smart. But be prepared for pushback. She's going to notice. I smiled, and it felt strange on my face, like my muscles had forgotten how. I'm counting on it. After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand, thinking, Robert was right. I needed documentation, evidence. I stood up, my body stiff from hours in the chair, and walked to the elevator. The broken door had been, not fixed, but made safe. Someone had pushed it closed and wedged it shut, probably from the inside. There was a "Do Not Disturb" sign hanging on the handle. I took photos, multiple angles, close-ups of the damaged lock mechanism, the splintered wood around the frame, the bent hinges. Then I went back downstairs and found the front desk. I need to speak with your security manager, I told the clerk. A young woman with a name tag that read, Alana. Is there a problem, sir? There was an incident last night, room 614. Someone kicked in the door. I filed a report with your night security team, but I want to follow up. Alana's professional smile faltered. Let me get the manager. 10 minutes later, I was sitting in a small office with Richard Kamaka, the resort's head of security. He was in his 50s, built like he'd been military once, with sharp eyes that had probably seen every kind of tourist drama imaginable. Mr. Chen, he said, pulling up something on his computer. I have the report from last night. You claimed someone kicked in your door and forced you out of your room. Not claimed. That's what happened. And this person, Marcus Hale. You're saying he's not authorized to be in that room? Check your booking system. Is his name on the reservation? Richard typed, frowned, typed some more. No, The room is booked under Maya Chen, only her name. Exactly, which means he broke into a room he wasn't authorized to be in, damaged hotel property, and is currently trespassing. This is unusual. Richard leaned back in his chair. We've also been notified that the credit card used to book the room has been disputed. The payment hasn't cleared. That's correct. The charge was unauthorized. Richard's frown deepened. Mr. Chen, is this a domestic dispute? Because if it is, it's a fraud case, I said calmly, and a property damage case. What happens to guests who damage hotel property and don't pay their bills? Understanding dawned in Richard's eyes. We ask them to settle their account or leave the premises. I'd like to be there when you do that. He studied me for a long moment. This is personal for you, very. I can't let you be in the room when we confront them. But, he checked his watch. It's 7:45. We usually start wellness checks around 8:30 for rooms with issues. I suppose you could wait in the hallway. I'll wait. At 8:42 a.m., I stood 15 feet from room 614, partially hidden by a housekeeping cart, and watched Richard Kamaka knock on the door. Hotel security. We need to speak with the occupants of this room. No answer. Another knock. Louder. This is hotel security. Please open the door. I heard movement inside, muffled voices. Then the scrape of furniture being moved. The door opened. Marcus stood there, wearing the same jeans from last night, shirtless, his hair disheveled. Behind him, I could see Maya sitting on the bed, wrapped in a sheet, her face pale. What? Marcus's voice was irritated, entitled, We're trying to sleep. Richard's expression didn't change. Sir, are you Marcus Hale? Yeah, why? And are you registered as a guest in this room? Marcus hesitated. I'm with her. Maya Chen. We're together. I need to see identification, please. This is ridiculous. It's not even 9 in the morning. Sir, Richard's voice hardened. Identification. Now. Marcus disappeared back into the room, grumbling. Maya hadn't moved, hadn't said anything. But she was looking at the doorway now. And her eyes widened when she saw me standing there. Our gazes locked. I wanted her to see it. The man she'd married. The man she'd betrayed. The man she'd told to just leave, just make it easy, just disappear while she fucked her childhood friend in the bed I'd paid for. I wanted her to see that I was done disappearing. Marcus returned with his wallet, handed over his license. Richard examined it, then nodded. Mr. Hale, according to our records, you are not registered as a guest in this room. Additionally, this door was reported damaged last night, requiring emergency repairs. And the credit card used to book this room has been disputed, meaning payment has not been received. Marcus's face went red. That's insane! Maya booked this room. Tell him, Maya. Maya's voice was tiny. Daniel Chen is no longer financially responsible for this room, Richard continued. Which means, Mr. Hale, Miss Chen, you have two options. You can settle the full balance for the room that's $4,847 for the original booking plus $1,200 for door repairs, total of $6,047, or you can vacate the premises within the hour. The number hung in the air like a bomb. 6,000, Marcus sputtered. You can't be serious. I'm completely serious. And given that you damaged hotel property, we're also considering filing a police report for vandalism. Maya. Marcus turned to her. You said this was handled. You said everything was paid for. Maya was crying now, full sobs, her shoulders shaking. It was. It should have been. Daniel must have. He canceled. Yes, I said, stepping forward, letting them both see me fully. I canceled everything. Marcus's eyes went wide, then narrow, then filled with that same rage from last night. You son of a... Careful, Richard warned. Mr. Hale, you're already in significant trouble. I wouldn't recommend making it worse. Do you have the money? I asked, my voice conversational. $6,000? Because I'm guessing you don't. And I'm guessing Maya doesn't either, since she's been spending our joint accounts for months, and those are all frozen now. The color drained from Marcus's face. So here's what's going to happen, I continued. You're going to pack your things, both of you. You're going to leave this hotel within the hour, or security will escort you out, and then you're going to figure out how you're getting back to Portland, because the return flights, those are canceled too. Those were on my credit card. Daniel, Maya started, but I held up a hand. No, you don't get to talk now. You had your chance to talk last night. You chose just do what he wants instead. So now we're doing what I want. I turned to Richard. Can I get my belongings from this room? Of course, Mr. Chen. I walked past Marcus, who looked like he wanted to hit me, but was smart enough not to try, with security present, and into the room. It smelled like them. Like sex and sweat and betrayal. My suitcase was exactly where I'd left it, untouched in the corner. I grabbed it, grabbed my toiletries from the bathroom, took one last look at Maya sitting on that bed, crying. I loved you, I said quietly. I would have done anything for you. I hope he was worth it. Then I walked out. In the hallway, Richard was explaining the checkout process to Marcus, who was arguing, threatening, demanding to speak to a manager. Maya had finally found her voice and was on her phone, probably calling her mother, her brother, someone who might bail them out. I didn't care. I took the elevator down, walked to the front desk, and asked Alana if they had any rooms available. We have a deluxe ocean view suite, she said, checking her computer. It's $850 a night, but it has a private balcony, jacuzzi tub. I'll take it for the next 12 days. Her eyes widened slightly. That would be quite expensive, Mr. Chen. I just freed up about $40,000 in disputed charges, I said. I think I can manage. She smiled a real smile this time, not the professional one, and started the booking process. By 9:30 a.m., I was in my new room, 7th floor, corner suite, view of the ocean and the mountains. Space enough for 3 of my old room. I stood on the balcony, phone in hand, and I started making more calls. Maya's mother, Maya's brother, her best friend from college, my parents, my sister. Each conversation was brief, factual, unemotional. This is what happened. This is what I'm doing. This is where we are now. By noon, I'd contacted everyone who mattered. And at 12:47 p.m., I watched from my balcony as Marcus and Maya were escorted out of the hotel by security, their luggage hastily packed, their faces masks of shock and humiliation. They stood on the circular driveway, under the bright Hawaiian sun, looking lost and small and utterly unprepared for the reality they'd created. I raised my glass of pineapple juice. I'd ordered room service, an obscene amount of food I didn't need but wanted anyway, and a silent toast. To truth, I thought. To receipts. To the beautiful, terrible clarity of consequences. Then I went inside, closed the balcony doors, and started planning the rest of my revenge. Because this was just the beginning. There's a particular intimacy to financial records. They tell stories that people think they're keeping secret, reveal truths that mouths won't speak. Every swipe of a card, every ATM withdrawal, every online transfer, they're all confessions, written in numbers instead of words. I spent the afternoon of my first full day of freedom doing what I do best, following the money. The room service cart sat nearby, remnants of my lunch macadamia, nut-crusted mahi-mahi, truffle fries, a slice of halpia cream pie I'd barely touched, while I sat cross-legged on the king-size bed with my laptop, 3 separate tablets, and a legal pad covered in notes. The view from my window was spectacular, all turquoise water and palm trees swaying in the breeze. But I wasn't looking at it. I was looking at 6 months of lies, itemized and time-stamped. The email from First National had been just the beginning. I'd requested statements from all our accounts, checking, savings, credit cards, even the investment account we'd opened 2 years ago for future children. That one hurt to look at. We'd been putting away $200 a month, building something for people who would never exist. But I'm good at compartmentalizing. It's what makes me a good accountant. So I pushed the emotion aside and focused on the data. By 2 p.m., I had created a spreadsheet. Column A, date. Column B, amount. Column C, merchant, description. Column D, location. Column E, my location that day. cross-referenced with my work calendar and travel records. Column F, Maya's stated explanation when she'd given one. Column G, actual explanation, what I could prove or reasonably infer. Column H, evidence, receipts. The spreadsheet grew and grew and grew. November 3rd. Amount, $485. Merchant Skamania Lodge. Location, Stevenson, WA, 45 minutes from Portland. My location, Portland, worked from home that day. Maya's explanation, shopping day with college friends. Actual explanation, weekend getaway with Marcus. Evidence, social media checked Maya's college friends all posted from a baby shower in Eugene that same day. None mentioned Maya being there. November 17th. Amount, $127. Merchant Portland Art Museum, plus Museum Cafe Bach. Location, Portland, or my location, Seattle. Client meeting. Maya's explanation, never mentioned. Actual explanation. Date, with Marcus. Evidence, credit card timestamp shows charges at 7:30 p.m., dinner time, not typical museum hours. Maya had texted me that night saying she was working late on a project. December 1st. Amount, $890. Merchant, Nordstrom. Location, Portland or W's. My location, Portland Offs. Maya's explanation, early Christmas shopping. Actual explanation, evidence. No gifts from Nordstrom appeared under our tree. When I'd asked about the charge, she'd said she returned most of it. No return credit ever appeared. I made a note to call Nordstrom. If she'd bought something with our joint card, I had a right to know what. December 15th. Amount, $340. Merchant, Vintage PDX. Instagram shop. Location, online. My location, Portland. Maya's explanation, client work expenses. Actual explanation, evidence. Maya's client work had never required $340 in vintage items before. Need to investigate this seller. The list went on. 47 suspicious charges over 6 months. Some small $20 here, $30 there. Others significant. Together they totaled $23,847. $23,847. That was more than half our house down payment fund. Gone. Spent on a relationship I didn't know existed, on a life Maya was living in the margins of our marriage. I sat back, staring at the number. My hands were shaking again, but not from rage this time. From something else. Something that felt like grief mixed with vindication. Like mourning and triumph happening simultaneously. Because this was evidence. This was proof. This was the kind of documentation that would matter in divorce court. That would show a pattern of financial infidelity. That would demonstrate Maya had been systematically draining our joint resources for her own purposes. Scars like receipts, I thought, remembering a line from a poem I'd read once. The body keeps the score, and so do bank accounts. At 3 p.m., I called Nordstrom. Thank you for calling Nordstrom. This is Jennifer. How may I help you today? The voice was warm, professional. Utterly unaware it was about to become part of my evidence chain. Hi, Jennifer. My name is Daniel Chen. I'm calling about a purchase made on December 1st on my credit card account ending in 4,738. The charge was $890. Of course. Let me pull that up for you. Typing sounds. Yes. I see that purchase. How can I help? Can you tell me what was purchased? A pause. I'm showing. Let me see. A men's leather jacket, size large. A cashmere sweater, also men's large. And a pair of dress shoes, size 11. My size was medium. My shoe size was 9. Was there a return on any of these items? More typing. No, sir. No returns recorded for this transaction. Can you tell me if a rewards number was associated with the purchase? Yes, actually. The purchase was made with a Nordstrom account under the name Maya Chen, and the rewards points were applied to her account Yes. I thanked her and hung up. So Maya had spent $890 of our money on men's clothing, expensive men's clothing, in sizes that matched Marcus. I'd seen him enough times to know he was tall, broad-shouldered, probably a large in most things. She'd bought him a cashmere sweater while I wore the same 3 button-downs to work on rotation because we were saving for the house. I added this to the spreadsheet. Then I called the next merchant. By 5 p.m., I had made 14 phone calls and added detailed notes to 32 of the suspicious charges. The picture that emerged was damning. Maya and Marcus had been seeing each other for at least 8 months, possibly longer. They'd been careful, mostly cash transactions, separate hotel bookings sometimes, charges that could plausibly be explained away as work expenses or shopping trips. But they'd also been careless in the way people in love often are, forgetting that someone might eventually look at the patterns, might notice that every work dinner happened on nights when I was traveling, that every shopping trip coincided with Marcus being in Portland. I'd cross-referenced his LinkedIn posts about visiting the Pacific Northwest. They'd stayed at the Heathman Hotel 3 times, the Sentinel twice, Skamania Lodge for a weekend. Each time, Maya had told me she was somewhere else visiting her mother, attending a workshop, having a girls' weekend. Each time, I'd believed her. My phone buzzed. A text from Robert, my lawyer. Got the preliminary paperwork drafted. Need to discuss a few things. Can you talk? I called him immediately. Daniel. Robert sounded serious, which for him meant very serious. I've been doing some research. Without the DESCOM, Oregon is a no-fault divorce state, which means the affair itself doesn't technically matter for the divorce proceeding. My stomach dropped. What? The adultery doesn't impact the legal dissolution of the marriage. However, and this is important, it absolutely impacts asset division, especially when there's financial infidelity involved. What you've documented, this pattern of using marital funds for an extramarital relationship, that's significant. So the $23,000 she spent can be counted as marital waste. You can argue she dissipated marital assets, which means the court could award you a greater share of the remaining assets to compensate. But Daniel, I need you to understand something. This is going to get ugly. When Maya finds out you're filing, when she sees what you're claiming, she's going to fight back. Let her. I'm serious. She could claim you're being vindictive, that you're exaggerating, that these were legitimate expenses. You need to be prepared for her to paint you as controlling, financially abusive even. I laughed, and it came out bitter. I'm the one who's abusive? I'm the one who let her handle all our joint finances because I trusted her. I'm the one who worked extra hours so she could build her freelance business. I'm the one who... I stopped, took a breath. Sorry. Don't apologize. Use that anger. Channel it into documentation. The more evidence you have, the stronger our case. Can you get me everything you found? I'll send it tonight. After we hung up, I spent another hour organizing the spreadsheet, color-coding categories, adding hyperlinks to saved receipts, and email confirmations. It was meticulous work, the kind that required focus and precision, and I was good at it. This was my language. This was how I fought. By the time I finished, the sun was setting, painting the ocean in shades of copper and gold. I should have felt triumphant. I had evidence. I had documentation. I had proof of everything Maya had done. Instead, I felt hollow. At 7 p.m., I ordered more room service seared ahi tuna, miso butterfish, a side of garlic edamame, and took it to the balcony. The evening was warm, the air thick with the smell of plumeria and salt water. Below me, the pool was lit up, families and couples enjoying the last hours of daylight. I thought about calling someone. My parents, maybe. My sister. But I didn't want to hear the sympathy in their voices, didn't want to explain again what had happened, didn't want to be the object of pity. So instead, I opened my laptop and did something I'd been avoiding. I looked at Maya's social media. Her Instagram was set to private, it always had been, but I still had access from when she'd added me as a follower years ago. Her most recent post was from 2 days before we left for Hawaii. A photo of a sunset taken from our apartment balcony with the caption, "Sometimes you need to remember that beautiful things exist." The comments were full of heart emojis and encouragement from her friends. "So pretty. You deserve all the beauty." Manifestation vibes. I scrolled back further. Most of her posts were work-related design projects, color palettes, font pairings, but scattered among them were personal photos. Her at a coffee shop posted October 15th, the same day she'd charged $47 at that exact coffee shop while I was at work. Her at Powell's bookstore February 14th, Valentine's Day, the day she'd said she was with her mother. Her at the Portland Japanese Garden March 3rd, a Saturday I'd spent doing taxes while she'd said she was having brunch with college friends. And in several of the photos, if you looked carefully at the reflections in windows or the shadows on the ground, you could see hints of someone else. A male silhouette, a hand at the edge of the frame. Marcus, always just out of sight, always lurking in the margins of the life she showed the world. I took screenshots of everything. Then I moved to Facebook, which Maya used less frequently but still maintained. Her relationship status still said, "Married to Daniel Chen." That felt like a sick joke. Her recent activity showed she'd joined a new group, Portland Adventure Seekers. I clicked on it. The group was full of posts about hiking trips, camping excursions, weekend getaways. And there, 3 weeks ago, was a photo posted by someone named Brad Henderson. It showed a group of about 15 people on a hiking trail, mountains in the background, everyone smiling and muddy and happy. Maya was in the photo. So was Marcus. They were standing next to each other, not touching, but close, too close. The caption read, "Great hike with great people. Thanks to Marcus for organizing." Marcus had organized the hike. Of course he had. I checked the date, March 9th. That Saturday, Maya had told me she was going to a design conference. She'd left early in the morning, come home late, full of stories about speakers and networking. All lies. All of it. I added this to my evidence folder. Screenshot, date stamp, notation. The evidence was piling up. A mountain of proof that my marriage had been a fiction for months, maybe longer. At 9:30 p.m., my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer. But something made me press, accept. Daniel, Maya's voice. Small, trembling, desperate. I said nothing. "Daniel, please. I know you're angry, but we need to talk. This is insane. You can't freeze all our accounts and leave us stranded here. We don't have any money. We can't even get a hotel room. And whose fault is that? Please." She was crying now. "Please, I know I messed up. I know I hurt you, but this is too far. Marcus and I are sleeping in his rental car. We can't afford to change our flights. We're stuck here for 2 weeks with nothing." I leaned back in my chair, looked out at the ocean, dark now except for the moonlight dancing on the waves. "Let me make sure I understand," I said, my voice calm. "You want me to unfreeze the accounts you've been stealing from for 8 months so that you and your boyfriend can be comfortable after you kicked me out of my own hotel room? It's not like that." "What's it like then, Maya? Explain it to me. Because from where I'm sitting, it looks exactly like that. Marcus and I, we didn't mean for this to happen. We tried to stop. We really did. But Daniel, you and I, we've been growing apart for so long. You know we have. You work all the time. You never want to do anything spontaneous. You're always worried about money. I'm worried about money because you've been spending $23,000 on your affair," I interrupted. $23,847, to be exact. Should I itemize it for you? The hotels, the dinners, the gifts you bought him with our money? Silence. You went through everything? I'm an accountant, Maya. Did you really think I wouldn't? Daniel, please. Her voice cracked. I made a mistake. I know I did. But we can work through this. We can go to counseling. We can fix this. Fix this? I laughed, and it sounded harsh even to my own ears. You let another man kick down our hotel room door and sleep in our bed. You told me to leave. You chose him over me. Right then, in that moment. There's no fixing that. I was scared. Marcus gets intense when he's been drinking, and I didn't want a scene. So you sacrificed me instead. Your husband, the man you promised to love and honor. You threw me out like garbage so he could be comfortable. It wasn't supposed to be like this. She was sobbing now, full, broken sobs. The trip was supposed to be just us. I was going to end things with Marcus before we left. But then he found out and he got so angry and he said he was coming anyway and I didn't know how to stop him without telling you everything and I panicked. Stop. I stood up, paced to the balcony railing. I don't want to hear this. I don't want your explanations or your excuses. I want you to understand something very clearly. We are done. I am filing for divorce. I am documenting every penny you stole. And when we go to court, everyone is going to know exactly who you are. Daniel, please don't do this. You did this, Maya. You made these choices. Now you get to live with them. We have nothing. We're sleeping in a car. We can't even afford food. You have, Marcus, I said coldly. Isn't that what you wanted? Well, now you have him. All of him. No more sneaking around. No more lies. Just you and him and the consequences of your choices. I hate you, she whispered. No, I said. You hate that you got caught. There's a difference. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. I felt sick and powerful and broken and whole all at the same time. I walked back inside, poured myself a glass of water from the mini fridge, drank it in 3 long gulps. Then I opened my laptop and sent everything, the spreadsheet, the screenshots, the phone records, all of it to Robert. Subject line: Evidence for Chen versus Chen divorce proceedings. The email whooshed away into the digital ether. I stood there for a moment, looking at the sent folder, at the proof of what my marriage had become. Then I closed the laptop, turned off the lights, and went to bed. Tomorrow, I would start building the rest of my case. Tomorrow, I would show Maya and Marcus and everyone else exactly what happened when you betrayed a man who knew how to read receipts. Tomorrow, I would begin the systematic dismantling of every lie they'd ever told. But tonight, I slept. For the first time in months, maybe years, I slept without wondering where Maya really was, what she was really doing, who she was really with. Because I already knew, and knowing, I discovered, was its own kind of freedom. Sunday morning arrived with the kind of clarity that only comes after destruction. The sky was impossibly blue, the ocean calm, the resort humming with the cheerful chaos of families starting their vacations. I stood on my balcony with coffee, Kona blend, ridiculously expensive, charged to the room without hesitation, and watched the world wake up. My phone had been buzzing since 6 a.m. Texts, calls, voicemails. My parents, my sister, Maya's mother, her brother James, even a few mutual friends who'd heard various versions of what happened and wanted the truth. I'd ignored most of them, but there was one call I needed to make. At 7:15 a.m. Hawaii time, 10:15 a.m. in Portland, I dialed my sister, Danny. Rachel's voice was tight with worry. Jesus Christ, Danny. I've been trying to reach you since yesterday. Mom called me in hysterics. She said Maya's mom called her, saying you abandoned Maya in Hawaii and froze all her money. That's not what happened. I know that's not what happened. You're the most responsible person I know. You wouldn't abandon a houseplant, let alone your wife. So tell me what actually happened. Rachel was 5 years older than me, a corporate lawyer in Seattle. Divorced herself after her ex-husband had decided he preferred his paralegal to his wife. She understood betrayal in a way most people didn't. So I told her everything. The 2 a.m. door kicking, the just do what he wants, the broken door, the sleeping arrangements, the financial records, all of it. When I finished, there was a long silence. That motherfucker, Rachel finally said, her voice ice cold. Both of them. Danny, please tell me you documented everything. I have a spreadsheet. Of course you do. Can you send it to me? Why? Because I'm going to review it. I know Oregon divorce law inside and out, dealt with enough of it during my own disaster. And because I want to make absolutely sure that when this goes to court, Maya doesn't have a leg to stand on. Something in my chest loosened. You believe me. Why wouldn't I believe you? Danny, you're the guy who feels guilty when you take 2 free samples at Costco. The idea that you'd freeze accounts out of spite or vindictiveness is laughable. If you did it, you had a damn good reason. I sent her the spreadsheet right then, all 47 charges highlighted and annotated. Holy shit, she breathed, clearly opening it on her end. Danny, this is damning. Heathman Hotel? 3 separate occasions? Nordstrom men's clothing? This isn't just an affair. This is systematic financial fraud. That's what Robert said. Robert Maxwell. He's good. But Danny, I want to help too. Let me review everything from a legal perspective. I'll coordinate with Robert. We'll build you a case so airtight she won't know what hit her. Rachel, don't. You're my baby brother. Someone hurt you. So now I'm going to help you destroy them, legally and thoroughly. That's what family does. After we hung up, I felt something I hadn't felt since Thursday night. Supported. Protected. Like I wasn't fighting this battle alone. The second call came at 8:30 a.m., Maya's brother James. I almost didn't answer. James and Marcus had been best friends since childhood. If anyone would take Maya's side, it would be him. But I answered anyway. Daniel. James's voice was strained. I need you to tell me this isn't true. Maya called my mom last night, crying, saying you left her and Marcus stranded in Hawaii without money, that you're being vindictive and cruel. And, did she tell your mom why I left? Silence. Did she mention that Marcus kicked down our hotel room door at 2 a.m. and demanded I give him the room? Did she mention that she told me to just do what he wants? Did she mention that I found 8 months of charges showing she's been having an affair with your best friend? More silence. Then, she said it wasn't like that. What did she say it was like? James exhaled slowly. She said Marcus showed up drunk, unexpected, that he was upset about some business deal and wasn't thinking straight. That she asked you to leave just to defuse the situation and you overreacted. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Is that the story she's telling? That's what she told my mother. But Daniel, I know my sister, and I know when she's lying. A pause. I also know Marcus. And I know what he's like when he wants something. What does that mean? It means, James sighed. Look, Marcus and I have been friends since we were 12, but he's always been entitled, spoiled. His parents gave him everything, and he grew up thinking the world owed him. In high school, he dated this girl, Sarah Chen, no relation, and when she broke up with him, he made her life hell, called her constantly, showed up at her house, turned all our friends against her. Why are you telling me this? Because I'm not blind, Daniel. I've seen the way he looks at Maya. I've seen the way she acts around him. And I've wondered. He trailed off. Wondered what? If something was going on. But Maya's my sister, and you seemed happy, and I told myself I was imagining things. But now... He stopped. Can you send me proof of the affair? Why? Because if this is real, if Maya actually did this to you, then I'm not taking her side. Family or not, what she did is unforgivable, but I need to see the evidence. I sent him a condensed version of the spreadsheet, 10 of the most damning charges, with dates and amounts and locations. 3 minutes later, my phone rang again. That son of a bitch! James's voice was shaking with rage. November 3rd, Skamania Lodge. I remember that weekend. Maya told us she was going to Seattle for a design conference. My mom even gave her money for registration fees. She wasn't in Seattle. No, she was 45 minutes away, fucking my best friend in a hotel room paid for with your money. He was quiet for a moment. Daniel, I am so sorry. I'm sorry I didn't see it. I'm sorry I didn't protect you. And I'm sorry my sister is a lying, cheating James. I'm on your side. Whatever you need. Character, witness, testimony, evidence, gathering. Whatever. You have me. Your family is going to hate you for this. My family protected a cheater. Yeah, they probably will hate me, but I'll survive. Will you let me help? Yes. After that call, something shifted. I wasn't just a betrayed husband anymore. I was someone with allies, people who saw the truth and chose to stand with me. At 10 a.m., I received an email from Robert Maxwell with the subject line, "You need to see this." I opened it. "Daniel, I did some digging into Marcus Hale. Thought you should know what you're dealing with." Marcus Hale, age 34, works in tech venture capital, but has no verifiable employment history beyond a series of failed startups. His LinkedIn claims he's a founding partner at 3 different companies, but public records show all 3 dissolved within 2 years. More interesting, he filed for bankruptcy in 2019. He's currently being sued by 2 former business partners for fraud, and he has a restraining order filed against him from 2021 by an ex-girlfriend named Jennifer Morrison. I'm attaching the court documents. This guy is not just an affair partner. He's a con artist with a pattern of manipulation and financial exploitation. Thought you should know what your wife chose over you. Robert. I opened the attachments. The restraining order made for ugly reading. Jennifer Morrison had accused Marcus of emotional manipulation, financial exploitation. He'd convinced her to invest $50,000 in a startup that never existed. Harassment after she broke up with him. Threatening behavior toward her family members. The court had granted the restraining order. Marcus was prohibited from contacting Jennifer or coming within 500 feet of her residence. The bankruptcy filing showed debts totaling $247,000. Credit cards, personal loans, unpaid rent, legal fees. The lawsuits from business partners alleged that Marcus had diverted company funds for personal use, falsified financial records, and deliberately sabotaged the businesses to cover his tracks. I sat back, staring at the screen. Maya hadn't just cheated on me with a family friend. She'd cheated on me with a con artist, a manipulator, someone with a documented history of exploiting women financially and emotionally. Had she known? Was she a victim too? Or a willing participant? Then I remembered the Nordstrom charges, the hotels, the careful scheduling of their meetings to avoid detection, the way she'd lied so smoothly, so completely. No, she wasn't a victim. She was a collaborator. I forwarded the documents to Rachel with a simple message. The plot thickens. Her response came within minutes. Holy shit. Danny, this changes everything. If we can prove Maya knew about his history, we can argue she was actively putting marital assets at risk by associating with him. This is beyond a fair evidence. This is proof of financial recklessness. At noon, I received a call from an unknown local number. Mr. Chen, this is Detective Lisa Tanaka, Maui Police Department. I understand you filed a report about a door being damaged at the Grand Wailea Resort? I sat up straighter. Yes, Marcus Hale kicked down the door to room 614 around 2 a.m. Saturday morning. And you witnessed this? I was in the room when it happened. Hotel security has documentation. There should be camera footage in the hallway. We've obtained the footage. Mr. Chen, I'm calling because we're considering filing charges against Mr. Hale for criminal property damage and potentially trespassing. But we need your formal statement. Would you be willing to come to the station? Absolutely. How's 2 p.m. today? I'll be there. The Maui Police Department was in Wailuku, about a 40-minute drive from the resort. I rented a car, a Jeep Wrangler, because why not? I was already spending money. I'd recovered from disputed charges and drove through the island interior, past sugarcane fields and small towns with Hawaiian names I couldn't pronounce. Detective Tanaka was in her 40s, sharp-eyed and no-nonsense, with the air of someone who'd seen every kind of tourist drama and was unimpressed by all of it. Mr. Chen, she shook my hand. Thank you for coming in. Let's start from the beginning. I told her everything. She recorded the statement, took notes, asked clarifying questions. And your wife, she said carefully. Where was she during this incident? In the bed, telling me to just do what Marcus wanted. So she allowed Mr. Hale to take over the room? Yes. And you're saying she's been having an affair with him? I'm saying I have 8 months of financial records proving they've been seeing each other. Yes. Detective Tanaka made another note. Mr. Chen, I need to be honest with you. This is complicated. Normally, in a case like this, we'd look at it as a domestic dispute. Husband, wife, friend, it's messy. But the property damage is clear. We have footage of Mr. Hale kicking down the door. That's criminal destruction of property. Are you going to file charges? That depends on whether the hotel wants to press charges. But either way, we're building a case file. If this goes to civil court, your divorce proceedings, for instance, this report will be part of the official record. That's all I need. She studied me. You're very calm about all this. I'm an accountant. I deal in facts and documentation. Emotion doesn't help. No. She agreed. But it's human. You're allowed to be angry. I am angry, I said quietly. I'm furious. But I'm also patient, and I'm thorough. So I'm going to document everything, build an airtight case, and make sure that when this is over, everyone knows exactly what they did. She smiled slightly. Good luck, Mr. Chen. I think you're going to need it. I don't need luck, I said. I have receipts. On the drive back to the resort, my phone rang. My mother. I'd been avoiding this call, but I answered anyway. Daniel. Her voice was thick with tears. Daniel. What is happening? Mrs. Lynn called me. She's saying terrible things about you, saying you abandoned Maya and Marcus, that you're being cruel. Mom, that's not what happened. Then tell me what happened, because I don't understand. You and Maya, you were so happy. We weren't happy, Mom. I just didn't know it. I pulled over to the side of the road. Couldn't have this conversation while driving. Maya's been having an affair with Marcus for at least 8 months. She spent over $20,000 of our joint money on him. And when we got to Hawaii, he kicked down our hotel room door in the middle of the night and demanded I leave. Maya told me to do what he wanted, so I did. I left. And then I canceled all the payments for the trip because I'm not paying for my wife's affair vacation. Silence. Then, oh, Daniel. Oh, my baby. And just like that, I was crying. Not the cold, controlled grief from before. Real tears, messy and painful, the kind that come from the deepest parts of loss. I trusted her, Mom. I gave her everything, and she threw it away for him. I know, sweetheart. I'm so sorry. We talked for another 20 minutes. She cried. I cried. She told me she loved me, that she was proud of me, that I was doing the right thing by protecting myself. Your father and I will support you, she said firmly. Whatever you need. And Mrs. Lynn can believe whatever she wants. I know, my son. I know you wouldn't do this without reason. After we hung up, I sat in the Jeep on the side of a Hawaiian highway, watching the clouds move across the sky, and I felt the weight of family support settle around me like armor. By the time I got back to the resort, it was 4:30 p.m. I had messages waiting from Rachel reviewing legal documents, wanted to discuss strategy. Robert Hotel had confirmed they would press charges against Marcus for property damage. James Maya's mother had found out he was on my side and had disowned him. He was surprisingly okay with it. Detective Tanaka Marcus had been served with a notice to appear in court regarding the property damage. I had allies, evidence, legal support, a police report, financial documentation. I had everything I needed to dismantle the life Maya had built on lies. But there was one more thing I needed to do. I opened my laptop, pulled up a document, and started writing. Not for court, not for lawyers, for me. A timeline. Every lie Maya had told, cross-referenced with evidence. Every moment I'd trusted her, and she'd betrayed that trust. Every choice that had led us here. I wrote for 3 hours, barely pausing, watching the sun set over the ocean while I documented the death of my marriage in meticulous detail. When I finished, I had a 17-page document that told the complete story of Maya and Marcus's affair, not the emotional story, but the factual one. Dates, times, locations, amounts, evidence. It was comprehensive, damning, irrefutable. I titled it, The Truth About Maya Chen. Then I saved it, backed it up in 3 different locations, and sent copies to Rachel, Robert, and James. My phone rang almost immediately. Rachel, Danny, this is incredible. This is the most thorough documentation of infidelity I've ever seen. I'm good at my job. You're better than good. With this, with the police report, with Marcus's history, Danny, we can't lose. There's no way Maya walks away from this without consequences. Good. Are you okay? Really okay? I looked out at the ocean, dark now, stars beginning to appear above it. No, I said honestly. I'm not okay. I'm heartbroken and angry and betrayed, but I'm also free. For the first time in months, maybe years, I know the truth. And the truth, as much as it hurts, is better than the lie I was living. You're stronger than you think. I'm learning. After we hung up, I ordered room service again. I was getting used to the luxury, the ease of having someone bring me food I didn't have to cook in a space that was mine alone, and took it to the balcony. The night was warm, the air full of flowers and salt and possibility. Tomorrow, I'd start the next phase. But tonight, I'd rest in the knowledge that I wasn't alone in this fight. I had allies, I had evidence, I had truth on my side. And that, I was discovering, was more powerful than any lie Maya could tell. Monday morning started with a phone call I didn't expect. Mr. Chen, this is Amanda Reeves from the Grand Wailea Resort Management. I'm calling regarding the incident in room 614. I was on the balcony, watching the sunrise paint the ocean in shades of rose gold, coffee in hand. The call jolted me back to reality. Yes? I wanted to inform you that we've completed our investigation into the property damage. Mr. Marcus Hale has been permanently banned from all properties in our hotel chain. Additionally, we're pursuing full restitution for the damaged door and frame, approximately $1,800. He's banned, effective immediately. His information has been flagged in our system. If he attempts to book any room at any of our properties worldwide, the reservation will be automatically canceled. She paused. Mr. Chen, I also wanted to apologize. What happened to you should never have happened. One of our guests was subjected to harassment and property destruction, and we take that extremely seriously. Thank you. There's one more thing. We've reviewed the disputed charge for the original room booking. Given the circumstances, the fraud claim, the property damage, the police involvement, we're willing to settle this administratively. We'll cancel the charge entirely and note in our records that you were the victim of unauthorized use of your payment information. I sat up straighter. You're canceling the entire charge? Yes, sir. All $4,847. Consider it our apology for what you experienced. After we hung up, I sat there processing. The hotel had just handed me back nearly $5,000, money that Maya had spent without my knowledge, that I'd already written off as lost. The universe, it seemed, was rewarding documentation and truth-telling. I added this to my master spreadsheet. Row 48, November Hawaii trip, initial booking, status, fully refunded. At 9 a.m., I had a video call scheduled with Robert and Rachel. I set up my laptop on the balcony table, the ocean behind me creating what Rachel would later call the world's most aggressive power move backdrop. Robert appeared first, his office visible behind him, dark wood, law books, the kind of space designed to intimidate. Then Rachel joined, her background equally professional. Daniel, Robert started. I've reviewed everything you sent. The financial records, the police report, the hotel documentation, Marcus's criminal history. This is, without exaggeration, one of the strongest divorce cases I've handled in 15 years. Agreed, Rachel added. Danny, in Oregon, we can't use adultery as grounds for divorce. It's a no-fault state. But we absolutely can use evidence of financial waste. Maya spent marital assets on an extramarital relationship. That's textbook dissipation of marital funds. Robert nodded. Here's what I'm proposing. We file for divorce this week. We cite irreconcilable differences, standard language. But in the asset division filing, we detail every fraudulent charge. We argue that Maya should be held responsible for the $23,847 she spent on the affair, and that you should receive a larger share of remaining marital assets to compensate. How much larger? Potentially 60-40 in your favor. Maybe 70-30 if we can prove she was reckless with finances beyond just the affair expenses. He pulled up a document on his screen. I also want to file for temporary restraining orders on all joint accounts. Freeze everything until the divorce is finalized. Given her pattern of unauthorized spending, we can argue you need protection from further financial harm. Do it. Rachel leaned forward. There's something else we need to discuss. Marcus Hale. His bankruptcy, the lawsuits, the restraining order. This paints him as a con artist. Did Maya know about any of this? I don't know. We need to find out. Because if she knew and still continued the relationship, still spent marital funds on him, we can argue she showed reckless disregard for the financial security of the marriage. If she didn't know, we can argue she was susceptible to manipulation and financially incompetent. Either way, it strengthens your case, Robert added. But Rachel's right. We need to establish what Maya knew and when. How do we do that? Rachel smiled, and it wasn't kind. We ask her. In a deposition, under oath. At 11 a.m., my phone buzzed with a text from James. Family lunch at Mom's today. She's freaking out about everything. Maya's there. Wants me to come. I told her I'm on your side. She lost it. Now she's demanding I choose between my sister and that man. Guess which choice I made? I called him. You didn't have to do that, I said when he answered. Yes, I did. Daniel, I've spent the last day looking at the evidence you sent me. I've been going through my own memories, things I dismissed or ignored. And I realize I've been enabling Maya and Marcus for years. What do you mean? Bree 7 Dockers. Little things. Comments Marcus would make about Maya, how she deserves better, how some guys don't appreciate what they have. I thought he was just being protective, but he was undermining you, planting seeds. He sounded tired, defeated. And Maya, God, the lies she's told, not just to you, to all of us. Remember last Christmas when she said she was donating to that children's charity and asked everyone to contribute instead of buying her gifts? Yeah? I found the receipt in your spreadsheet. December 22nd. Northwest Adventure Outfitters. That wasn't a charity donation. That was her buying Marcus camping gear. The memory hit me like a physical blow. Christmas morning, Maya had been so proud, showing everyone the thank you letter from the charity, a letter she must have fabricated. My parents had contributed $200, her parents $300, James and his wife $150. She stole Christmas donations, I said flatly. She stole from everyone who loved her. James corrected. And I'm done protecting that. I'm done making excuses. So yeah, I chose you over her, because you're the one who deserves loyalty. After we hung up, I added another line to my document. Christmas charity fraud. Approximately $650 stolen from family members under false pretenses. The list kept growing. Each new revelation was another nail in the coffin of the life Maya had built on deception. At 1 p.m., I decided to do something I'd been avoiding. I checked Maya's credit card activity. I still had access to our joint account portal. Maya hadn't thought to change the password yet, or maybe she couldn't without my authorization. Either way, I could see her recent charges. The list was enlightening. Saturday, 2:47 p.m., $87, Safeway, Kahului. Saturday, 4:12 p.m., $34, Shell Gas Station, Kahului. Saturday, 8:23 p.m., $156, Times Supermarket, Kihei. Sunday, 9:15 a.m., $45, McDonald's, Kihei. Sunday, 2:34 p.m., $23, Walmart, Kahului. Sunday, 7:18 p.m., $67, Foodland, Kihei. Monday, 7:45 a.m. $28, Starbucks, Kihei. So they weren't sleeping in Marcus's rental car. They were shopping, eating out, buying supplies. With what money? I cross-referenced the charges with Maya's personal credit card, the one that wasn't joint, the one in her name only that I had no authority over. The charges matched. She was using her personal card, which meant she had money I didn't know about. I called Rachel immediately. She has a separate credit card I didn't know about, I said without preamble. How much credit? Based on the charges, at least a few thousand. She's been using it since Saturday afternoon. Danny, this is important. In Oregon, any debt incurred during the marriage is considered marital debt, even if it's in one person's name. If she's racking up charges now, after the separation, you could potentially be held responsible for half. Are you fucking kidding me? No. That's why we need to file the divorce papers immediately. Once we file, we can argue that any charges incurred after the filing date are her sole responsibility. But until then, technically, you're still married and financially joined. File today. Right now. I'll call Robert. We'll have the papers filed by end of business. At 3 p.m., I went for a walk on the beach. I needed to clear my head, needed to step away from the spreadsheets and legal documents and constant documentation. The sand was hot under my feet, the sun intense, the water a blue so vivid it looked photoshopped. I walked for an hour, thinking about the man I'd been 2 days ago. The man who'd believed his marriage was solid, who'd trusted his wife, who'd been content with the quiet, ordinary life they'd built together. That man was gone, killed somewhere between 2 a.m. Saturday and now. In his place was someone harder, someone who'd learned that trust without verification was just naivete in disguise, someone who understood that love, no matter how genuine, could be weaponized. I thought about Maya, sleeping in that bed with Marcus after I'd left. Had she felt guilty? Relieved? Triumphant? I thought about Marcus, entitled and manipulative, with his pattern of exploiting women and destroying their finances. And I thought about myself, the accountant who'd spent years managing other people's money with meticulous care while his own wife robbed him blind. The irony was almost funny. Almost. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Maya. I'm using Marcus's phone because mine is dead and we can't afford to buy a charger. Daniel, please, I'm begging you. We need money. We can't get a hotel room. We can't change our flights. We're trapped here with nothing. Whatever I did, I don't deserve this. Please. I stared at the message for a long time. Then I blocked the number. At 5 p.m., Robert called. It's done. Divorce papers filed with Multnomah County Circuit Court. Maya will be served within 72 hours, probably Wednesday morning, Portland time. What happens when she's served? She'll have 30 days to respond. During that time, we'll request discovery, all financial documents, communications with Marcus, everything. We'll also file for temporary orders regarding asset division and debt responsibility. And the restraining orders on the accounts? Filed simultaneously. All joint accounts are now frozen pending court review. Maya can't access them. You can't access them. Everything is locked down until a judge reviews the case. What about my new individual account, the one I transferred half the savings into? That's yours. You had every right to secure your portion of marital assets before filing. As long as you took no more than 50%, you're legally protected. I let out a breath I didn't know I'd been holding. Okay. Daniel, I need to prepare you for what comes next. Maya is going to fight this. When she's served, when she realizes you've documented everything, she's going to come back swinging. She'll deny, deflect, probably accuse you of all kinds of things. Let her. She might claim you were abusive, controlling, that you monitored her finances inappropriately, that you're making up the affair. I have receipts for everything. I know, but emotionally, are you prepared for her to attack your character, to potentially turn mutual friends against you, to make you the villain in her version of events? I watched the sun sink lower toward the horizon, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple. Robert, I spent 6 years loving someone who was lying to me. I spent 6 years working extra hours, sacrificing, planning a future that only existed in my imagination. I've been the villain in her story since the moment she decided Marcus was worth more than our marriage. So yeah, I'm prepared, because I know the truth, and the truth doesn't change just because she tells a different story. At 7 p.m., I had dinner alone at the resort's beachfront restaurant. The server, a kind older woman named Leilani who'd served me twice before, asked if I was celebrating anything special. "Divorce filing went through today," I said. She blinked, clearly not the answer she'd expected. Then she smiled. "Then the Mai Tai is on me, honey. Sometimes the best celebrations are the ones for endings that needed to happen." The Mai Tai came in a ceramic tiki mug, strong enough to make my eyes water, sweet enough to make it dangerous. I sipped it slowly, watching the sunset, listening to the conversations around me, families laughing, couples murmuring to each other, a group of friends celebrating someone's birthday. Normal people living normal lives, untouched by the kind of betrayal that rewrites your understanding of reality. I envied them, but I also pitied them a little, because they didn't know yet what I'd learned. That you could survive the end of everything. That you could document your way through heartbreak. That receipts were better armor than love ever was. Halfway through dinner, my phone buzzed. Email from Rachel. Subject line, urgent. Read now. I opened it. Danny. I did some digging into Maya's personal credit card, the one she's been using in Hawaii. Called in a favor with a friend who works in credit monitoring. She has $47,000 in available credit on that card. $47,000. That's not a normal credit limit for a freelance graphic designer. That's the kind of limit you get with significant income or assets backing it. I think Maya has money we don't know about, either savings or income she hasn't disclosed or something else. This needs to be part of discovery. We need to find out where that credit came from and what else she's hiding. Call me when you can. R. I read the email 3 times. $47,000 in credit. On a card I didn't know existed. For a woman who'd been crying poverty and claiming we needed to save every penny for our house down payment. I thought about the times Maya had told me we couldn't afford things. Couldn't afford a nicer apartment. Couldn't afford date nights. Couldn't afford a weekend trip. All while she had access to nearly $50,000 in credit. The lies went deeper than I'd imagined. I finished my Mai Tai in 3 long swallows and ordered another. At 9 p.m., slightly drunk and absolutely furious, I opened my laptop and started a new document, Financial Discrepancies and Hidden Assets, a comprehensive investigation. I worked for 2 hours, cross-referencing every statement I had access to, looking for patterns, searching for evidence of hidden income or secret accounts, and I found things. Small transfers from Maya's personal checking to accounts I couldn't identify. $200 here, $500 there, always on the first of the month, going back 18 months. Venmo payments to someone named M.H. Obviously Marcus, hundreds of dollars, often with emoji-filled captions like, "Thanks for dinner," or "Best weekend ever." PayPal receipts for graphic design services that totaled far more than Maya had ever reported on our tax returns. Clients I'd never heard of. Projects she'd never mentioned. By 11 p.m., I had evidence suggesting Maya had underreported her income by at least $15,000 last year, which meant our joint tax return, the one I'd signed, trusting her to handle her business finances, was potentially fraudulent. I added this to the master document under a new section, Potential Tax Fraud. Then I sent everything to Rachel with a simple message. It gets worse. Her response came 2 minutes later. Jesus Christ, Danny. At this rate, Maya's going to end up in federal prison, not just divorce court. At midnight, I stood on my balcony with my 3rd Mai. Leilani had sent 2 more to my room with a note that said, "Healing takes time, honey, but good liquor helps." And I looked out at the ocean. The moon was nearly full, turning the water silver. Somewhere out there, on this same island, Maya and Marcus were probably arguing about money, about me, about how everything had gone wrong. They'd expected me to roll over, to accept the humiliation, to quietly disappear while they enjoyed the vacation I'd paid for. They'd underestimated the power of a man who knew how to read a balance sheet. My phone buzzed one last time. Text from James. Maya showed up at my apartment tonight, crying, begging me to talk to you. Said she made a mistake, said she loves you. Said Marcus pressured her into everything. I told her to save it for her lawyer. She called me a traitor. I called her a liar. Mom tried to make me apologize. I moved out instead, crashing with a friend. But Danny, I don't regret it. Standing up for what's right matters more than family peace. I typed back, thank you for everything. You're a better man than your sister deserves. His response, so are you. That's why she lost you. I finished my drink and went to bed. Tomorrow, the real work would begin. Discovery, depositions, legal warfare. But tonight, I slept, the sleep of the righteous, the sleep of a man who'd chosen truth over comfort, documentation over denial. I slept knowing that every lie Maya had told was now written down, time-stamped, cross-referenced, and ready to be presented in court. I slept knowing that Marcus's con artist past would be exposed, that his manipulation would be laid bare for everyone to see. I slept knowing that I'd built a case so thorough, so comprehensive, so utterly damning that there was no version of events Maya could spin that would survive contact with the evidence. And in the morning, when I woke to another perfect Hawaiian sunrise, I would continue the work of dismantling the life she'd built on lies, one receipt at a time, one documented conversation at a time, one truth at a time, until there was nothing left but the reality she'd tried so hard to hide. Tuesday morning, I woke to 17 missed calls, all from the same Portland number, Maya's mother, Mrs. Lynn. I didn't listen to the voicemails. Instead, I ordered breakfast macadamia nut pancakes, Portuguese sausage, fresh papaya, Kona coffee strong enough to wake the dead, and ate on my balcony while watching surfers catch the early morning waves. My phone rang again. Mrs. Lynn, persistent. I answered. You monster. Her voice was shaking with rage. You absolute monster. How dare you? How dare you abandon my daughter in a foreign place, with no money, no way home, no way. Mrs. Lynn, I interrupted, my voice calm. Did Maya tell you why I left? She told me you had a fight, that you overreacted to Marcus being there, that you froze her accounts out of spite. Did she tell you that Marcus kicked down our hotel room door at 2 a.m? Silence. Did she tell you that she instructed me to leave so Marcus could sleep in our bed? Did she tell you about the 8 months of affair charges I found? The $23,000 she spent on hotels and dinners and gifts for him? That's, Maya said, you're making things up, that you're angry and lying. I have receipts, Mrs. Lynn, bank statements, hotel records, police reports. Your daughter has been having an affair with Marcus Hale for at least 8 months, possibly longer. She spent our house down payment money on him, and when he showed up drunk and violent, she chose him over me. I could hear her breathing, sharp and quick. I don't believe you. You don't have to believe me. The court will. I filed for divorce yesterday. Maya will be served tomorrow. And when this goes to trial, every charge, every lie, every receipt will be entered into public record. Everyone will see exactly who your daughter is. You're trying to ruin her life. No, Mrs. Lynn. I'm trying to save mine. Maya ruined her own life the moment she decided Marcus was worth more than our marriage. I hung up. My hands were trembling, but not from fear, from something else. Something that felt like freedom mixed with grief, like watching a building you built with your own hands burn down while knowing you were the one who struck the match. It had to burn. It was built on rot. At 10 a.m., I received an email from a name I didn't recognize, Sarah Chen. The subject line read, "You don't know me, but we have something in common." I opened it cautiously. Mr. Chen? My name is Sarah Chen. No relation, despite the last name. I saw your name in a police report. I have a Google alert set for Marcus Hale for Reasons. I'm the woman who filed a restraining order against him in 2021. I don't know your full situation, but if Marcus is involved, I can guess. He has a pattern: charm, manipulation, financial exploitation, then rage when things don't go his way. I'm reaching out because I wish someone had warned me before I got involved with him. I lost $50,000, my sense of safety, and 2 years of my life to that man. If you're building a case against him, or against someone who chose him, I'm willing to testify, to share my experience, to help however I can. No one should have to learn about Marcus Hale the hard way. Please feel free to contact me if I can be of assistance. Sarah Chen. She included her phone number. I sat staring at the email for a full minute, then forwarded it to both Rachel and Robert with the message, "Potential character witness. Woman who got a restraining order against Marcus, willing to testify." Rachel's response was immediate. "This is gold, Danny. Absolute gold. A previous victim willing to testify about Marcus's pattern of behavior? That establishes him as a con artist and manipulator, which reflects on Maya's judgment and decision-making. Call her. Get her full story. Record it if she's willing." I called Sarah Chen at 10:30 a.m. She answered on the second ring. "Mr. Chen?" "Daniel, please. Thank you for reaching out." I had to. Her voice was steady, but carried the weight of someone who'd survived something terrible. "When I saw Marcus's name in a police report from Hawaii, associated with property damage and a potential domestic incident, I knew someone else was going through what I went through." "Can you tell me what happened with you and Marcus?" She took a breath. "We met at a networking event in 2019. He was charming, successful, or so he claimed. Said he was launching a tech startup, that he was on the verge of major funding. We started dating. Within 3 months, he'd moved into my apartment." This sounded familiar in a sickening way. "He was attentive at first, romantic, but there were red flags I ignored. He never paid for anything, always had an excuse. His credit cards were temporarily frozen. His bank was investigating fraud. He was waiting for investor money to clear. I covered everything: rent, food, dates, everything." "How much?" "Over the 6 months we were together? About $30,000. But that's not the worst part. He convinced me to invest in his startup. Said he just needed bridge funding until the real investors came through. I gave him $50,000 from my savings. And there was no startup." "There was no startup. There was no investor meeting. There was no product. It was all lies. When I finally figured it out, when I confronted him, she paused. He became a different person. Threatening, cruel. He said I'd never see the money again, that I was stupid for believing him, that I should be grateful he'd wasted time on someone like me." I closed my eyes. "I'm sorry." "When I broke up with him, he harassed me for months, showed up at my work, called my family, posted things about me online. I had to get a restraining order just to make it stop." Her voice hardened. "So when I tell you that anyone who chooses Marcus Hale over a good man is either a fool or a fellow con artist, I speak from experience. The woman who chose him is my wife. Was my wife. We're divorcing. Then you're making the right choice. And Mr. Chen? Daniel? Whatever evidence you have, whatever case you're building, I'll support it. Testimony, deposition, whatever you need. Marcus Hale destroyed my life once. I won't let him get away with destroying someone else's." We talked for another 20 minutes. I recorded the conversation with her permission. She gave me dates, amounts, copies of texts from Marcus that ranged from love bombing to threats. She sent me the court documents from her restraining order case. By the time we hung up, I had another witness, another piece of evidence, another layer of proof that Maya hadn't just made a mistake, she'd chosen to align herself with a predator. At noon, Rachel called. "Danny, you need to see something. Check your email. I'm sending you screenshots from Maya's Instagram." I opened my laptop. The email contained 3 screenshots, all from Maya's Instagram story, posted within the last hour. The first was a selfie of Maya, tear-stained and exhausted, with text overlay. "When the person you trusted most betrays you in your darkest moment." The second was a quote graphic. Narcissists will destroy you and then convince everyone you're the crazy one. The third was another selfie, this time with Marcus in the frame, his arm around her protectively. Caption: "At least I know who my real family is. Blood doesn't make you, loyal actions do." I stared at the images, something cold and sharp settling in my chest. "She's building a counter-narrative," Rachel said, "making herself the victim. You're the narcissist who abandoned her. Marcus is the hero who saved her." "Of course she is. Danny, this is important. Don't respond, don't comment, don't engage at all. Let her tell her story. Because when the evidence comes out in court, when all those receipts become public record, everyone who believed her is going to feel stupid. The bigger the lie she tells now, the harder the truth will hit later. What if people believe her? Some will. Some people always believe the first story they hear. But the people who matter, the judge, the lawyers, the people who actually see the evidence, they'll know the truth. And that's what counts." After we hung up, I sat with my phone in my hand, looking at Maya's Instagram posts. The comments were already pouring in. "Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. You deserve so much better. Some men are just trash. Stay strong, Queen." And from Marcus's account, posted 20 minutes ago, "Standing by the people who matter, Rio recognizes Rio." The urge to respond was overwhelming. To comment, to correct, to post my own evidence and watch her story crumble in real time. But Rachel was right. Silence now would make the truth more devastating later. So I did nothing. I blocked Maya's Instagram, blocked Marcus's, blocked everyone who might try to pull me into the online drama. And I went back to work on my spreadsheet. At 2 p.m., Robert called. "She's been served." 3 words that changed everything. Maya received the divorce papers 1 hour ago. Process server found her at her mother's house in Portland. Apparently she and Marcus caught a red-eye back last night. How did they afford the flights? Good question. I'm guessing Marcus's credit card, or maybe Mrs. Lynn paid. Either way, she's officially been notified of the divorce proceedings. She has 30 days to respond. What happens now? Now we wait for her response. She'll hire a lawyer, probably already has one if she's smart. They'll file a counter-petition. We'll enter discovery phase. And then, things get really interesting. How interesting? Well, I've subpoenaed all financial records from the last 3 years. Bank statements, credit card statements, tax returns, everything. We've also requested all communications between Maya and Marcus, texts, emails, social media messages, and we filed interrogatories, written questions she has to answer under oath, such as, please detail all expenditures from joint marital accounts for the period of January 2024 to present, and please provide the names and contact information for all individuals with whom you maintained a romantic or sexual relationship during the marriage. And my personal favorite, please explain the source of funds for the $47,000 credit line on your personal credit card. I smiled. It felt sharp. She's going to hate that. She's going to have to answer it, under penalty of perjury, which means either she tells the truth and incriminates herself, or she lies and commits a felony. What about Marcus? Can we get his records too? Trickier. He's not party to the divorce, but we can subpoena his testimony as a witness. And if we can prove he knowingly participated in the dissipation of marital assets, which the hotel receipts and gift purchases suggest, we might be able to hold him financially liable as well. You're saying I could sue Marcus? Potentially, yes. For alienation of affection or criminal conversation, both are still viable torts in some contexts. Oregon doesn't recognize them, but the principle of third-party liability for financial harm still applies. We'd have to be creative, but it's possible. The idea of Marcus having to face legal consequences, not just social ones, was deeply satisfying. Do it, whatever it takes. At 4 p.m., I went for another walk on the beach. The afternoon sun was intense, the sand almost too hot to walk on. But I needed to move, needed to think, needed to process everything that was happening. In 3 days, my entire life had disassembled. Marriage ended. Accounts frozen. Legal warfare initiated. A woman I'd loved for 6 years, revealed as a stranger. But I wasn't falling apart. If anything, I was sharpening. Each new piece of evidence, each new ally, each new legal maneuver, they were building something. Not a marriage, but a case. Not a future together, but a victory alone. I thought about Sarah Chen's story. The pattern Marcus followed: charm, exploit, discard. And I wondered how long it would take before Maya became his next victim instead of his accomplice. Would he drain her accounts like he'd drained mine? Would he isolate her from family like he'd isolated Sarah? Would she end up filing a restraining order too, 6 months or a year from now, wondering how she'd been so blind? Part of me, a small, vindictive part, hoped so. Most of me just felt tired. My phone buzzed. Text from James. Maya's lawyer just contacted Robert. She's requesting mediation. Says she wants to resolve this amicably without dragging both families through public humiliation. Translation: she knows she's fucked and wants to settle before discovery reveals everything. I called him. How do you know this? Maya called me, crying, begging me to convince you to drop the divorce, or at least agree to mediation. Said she can explain everything, that it's not what it looks like, that Marcus manipulated her. What did you say? I said that if Marcus manipulated her, she should probably file a police report. Then I hung up. He sighed. Daniel, she's scared. I've never seen my sister scared like this. She knows what you have on her. Good. Her lawyer is apparently telling her that if this goes to full discovery, if all the financial records become court documents, she could face criminal charges. Tax fraud, theft, misuse of joint assets. She could end up with more than just divorce. She could end up with a record. Also good. Are you going to agree to mediation? I watched the waves roll in, endless and indifferent. What does Robert recommend? He says it depends on what you want. If you want a quick resolution, mediation could work. But if you want Maya to face full consequences, you take it to trial. Make everything public. Let the evidence speak. What do you think I should do? James was quiet for a moment. I think you should do whatever helps you sleep at night. Not for revenge, though God knows she deserves it, but for closure. What do you need to move on? I thought about that. What did I need? Not an apology. Maya had already proven those were worthless. Not an explanation. I knew why she'd done it, because she could. Because I trusted her. Because Marcus had offered something I apparently hadn't. What I needed was the truth on record, documented, undeniable. So that years from now, when people asked what happened to Daniel and Maya Chen, there would be court records, legal documents, evidence that told the story exactly as it happened. I want it on the record, I said. Every receipt, every lie, every choice she made. I want it documented so thoroughly that there's no room for her to rewrite history. Then you take it to trial. Yeah, I take it to trial. At 6 p.m., I received an email from Maya. The subject line was just my name, Daniel. I almost deleted it without reading, but something made me open it. Daniel, I know you probably hate me. I know you have every right to. But please, please, hear me out. I made a mistake. The biggest mistake of my life. Marcus, he's not who I thought he was. He's been lying to me too. About his business, his money, everything. I didn't know about his past, about the restraining order, about the bankruptcy. If I'd known, I never would have. I'm not making excuses. What I did was wrong, unforgivable. I betrayed you in the worst possible way. But Daniel, we built a life together. 6 years. Doesn't that mean anything? Can't we at least try to end this with some dignity? My lawyer says you're requesting full discovery, that you're going to subpoena everything, every text, every email, every financial record. Daniel, if this goes public, it will destroy both of us. People will know everything. Our families, our friends, future employers, everyone will see our worst moments laid out in court documents. I'm begging you. Let's do mediation. Let's settle this privately. You can have the house down payment money, what's left of it. You can have whatever assets you want. I won't fight you. I just want this to end without everything becoming public record. Please, for what we had, if it ever meant anything to you. Maya. I read it twice. It was manipulative. Perfectly crafted to appeal to my sense of privacy, my desire for dignity, my memories of the good times we'd had. She was betting that I'd want to avoid public humiliation more than I'd want justice. She was betting wrong. I forwarded the email to Robert and Rachel with a single line: preservation of evidence. Also, no. Robert's response: this is actually helpful. She's admitting the affair, admitting to financial misconduct, and offering a settlement. That's leverage. Don't respond directly. Let me handle attorney-to-attorney communication. Rachel's response: she's panicking. That whole "for what we had" line is pure manipulation. Don't fall for it. You deserve better than a quiet settlement that lets her save face. I closed my laptop and ordered room service again. Kalua, pork, poi, lomi salmon, haupia for dessert. Food I'd never tried before. Food that cost more than Maya and I used to spend on groceries in a week. I ate it all. And while I ate, I thought about what Maya had said, about destroying both of us, about public humiliation. She was right that court records would be public, right that everyone would see everything. But she was wrong about one thing. The truth wouldn't destroy me. I wasn't the one who'd lied. I wasn't the one who'd stolen. I wasn't the one who'd kicked down doors or chosen an affair over a marriage or spent thousands of dollars on a con artist while claiming we couldn't afford date nights. The truth would vindicate me. And if it destroyed her in the process, well, she'd built her reputation on lies. She didn't get to cry about it crumbling when the truth came out. At 9 p.m., I sat on my balcony with a glass of wine, a Napa Cabernet that cost $80 and tasted like justified revenge. And I made a list. Not a spreadsheet this time, just a list. Handwritten, cathartic. Things I will not do. Respond to Maya's emails. Engage with her social media narrative. Accept mediation to save her from consequences. Feel guilty for protecting myself. Pretend this didn't happen. Let her rewrite history. Things I will do. See this through to the end. Let every receipt speak. Build a case so strong there's no room for doubt. Protect my financial future. Protect my emotional future. Remember that truth matters more than temporary peace. I took a photo of the list and sent it to Rachel. Her response: this is your manifesto. Frame it. You're going to need these reminders when she tries to make you feel guilty, and she will try. At 11 p.m., I fell asleep to the sound of waves against the shore. And I dreamed of courtrooms and spreadsheets and truth told in numbered rows, columns of evidence marching like soldiers into a battle I was going to win. Not because I was better than Maya, but because I had something she didn't. Documentation. And in the war between competing narratives, documentation always wins. Wednesday morning in Hawaii meant Tuesday night had just ended in Portland. The time difference created a strange disconnect. I was waking to sunshine and coffee while 3 time zones away, Maya was probably lying awake, dreading what the morning would bring. Discovery had officially begun. At 7 a.m. Hawaii time, I received an email from Robert with the subject line, "Initial discovery responses. You need to see this." I opened it on my balcony, the ocean breeze carrying the scent of plumeria, while I read about the systematic destruction of my marriage in legal terminology. Daniel, Maya's attorney, Jennifer Wu from Cascade Family Law, filed her initial response yesterday evening. She's contesting the asset division, claiming the charges you've identified as affair expenses were actually legitimate business and personal expenditures that you mischaracterized out of vindictiveness. More interesting, she's claiming you were financially controlling, that you monitored her spending obsessively, that she felt trapped and surveilled in the marriage. She's arguing that her friendship with Marcus provided emotional support during a difficult time in your marriage, a marriage she claims had been failing for years due to your workaholic tendencies and emotional unavailability. She's also claiming the Hawaii trip was a last-ditch effort to save the marriage, and that you fabricated the door-kicking incident to justify abandoning her. Attached are her interrogatory responses. They're creative. I downloaded the attachment. 47 pages of legal doublespeak, but certain sections stood out. Interrogatory 12. Please detail all expenditures from joint marital accounts exceeding $100 for the period January 2024 to present. Maya's response. Respondent objects to this interrogatory as overly broad, unduly burdensome, and designed to harass rather than illuminate. Without waiving said objection, respondent states that all expenditures from joint accounts were for legitimate marital purposes, including, but not limited to, household expenses, groceries, transportation, clothing, professional development, and reasonable entertainment. Petitioner's characterization of these expenses as improper is both inaccurate and defamatory. Interrogatory 15. Please identify all individuals with whom you maintained a romantic or sexual relationship during the marriage. Maya's response. Respondent objects to this interrogatory as an invasion of privacy and irrelevant to asset division in a no-fault divorce state. Without waiving said objection, respondent states that she maintained appropriate friendships with various individuals, including Marcus Hale, a longtime family friend. Any suggestion of impropriety is false and intentionally damaging to respondent's reputation. Interrogatory 23. Please explain the source of funds for the $47,000 credit line on your personal credit card ending in 8,834. Maya's response. Respondent objects to this interrogatory as seeking information about separate property not subject to marital asset division. Without waiving said objection, respondent states that said credit card was obtained through her personal creditworthiness based on her freelance income and is not a marital asset. I read through all 47 pages. Every answer was the same pattern. Object, deflect, provide the minimum possible information while denying everything. She was playing defense. Hard defense. I called Robert immediately. She's stonewalling, I said without preamble. Yes and no. She's objecting to everything, which is standard in contentious divorces. But here's the thing. Her objections are weak, overly broad, unduly burdensome. Daniel, you asked for basic financial information that she's legally required to provide in asset division. A judge will compel her to answer properly. So what do? We file a motion to compel. We tell the judge that Maya is refusing to comply with legitimate discovery requests, and we ask the court to order her to provide complete, truthful responses within 15 days. If she still refuses, she can be held in contempt. How long does that take? The motion will be heard within 2 weeks. So by mid to late next week, we'll have a ruling. And Daniel? Judges hate when people play games with discovery. This isn't helping her. After we hung up, I opened my laptop and created a new document. Maya's discovery responses, analysis, and counter evidence. For each of her objections and denials, I created a corresponding section with evidence that contradicted her claims. Maya claims all expenditures were for legitimate marital purposes. Evidence: November 3rd, $485 at Skamania Lodge while I was in Portland, and she claimed to be in Seattle. Hotel records show room booked for 2 adults. Her college friends all posted from Eugene that same day, contradicting her shopping with friends story. Maya claims relationship with Marcus was appropriate friendship. Evidence: Nordstrom purchase of men's clothing in Marcus's size. Multiple hotel bookings. Venmo payments with romantic emojis. Text messages, if we can get them, likely contain explicit romantic content. Maya claims personal credit card is separate property based on her freelance income. Evidence: tax returns show Maya reported $28,000 in freelance income last year. A $47,000 credit line would require income of approximately $140,000 plus, or significant assets as collateral. Where did that qualification come from? The deeper I dug, the more questions emerged, and each question was another thread to pull, another inconsistency to investigate. At 10 a.m., Rachel called. Have you seen Maya's financial disclosure yet? Robert sent it this morning. Why? Because I've been going through it, and Danny, the numbers don't add up. Like fundamentally don't add up. She sounded excited, which for Rachel meant she'd found something damning. What do you mean? Maya's disclosure claims she earned $28,000 in freelance income last year, right? But I cross-referenced that with her business bank account statements, which she was required to disclose, and there are deposits totaling almost $70,000. I sat up straighter. $70,000? $68,412 to be exact. Which means either she failed to report $40,000 in income on your joint tax return, or that money came from somewhere else. Where else could it come from? That's what we need to find out. But Danny, if she underreported income on your tax return, that's tax fraud, and you signed that return, which means you could potentially be liable too. My stomach dropped. Are you serious? I'm already contacting a tax attorney. We need to file an amended return immediately, declaring that you had no knowledge of Maya's actual income and that you relied on her representation when signing. We need to get ahead of this before the IRS does. Jesus Christ. What else is she hiding? That's what discovery is for. We're going to find out. At noon, I received a Facebook message from someone I hadn't heard from in 3 years. David Park, one of Maya's freelance clients. Hey Daniel, this is super awkward, but I just heard through the grapevine that you and Maya are divorcing. I'm really sorry, man, but I need to tell you something that's been bothering me. Last year, Maya did a rebrand project for my company. We paid her $15,000. But when she invoiced us, she asked us to split the payment $8,000 to her business account and $7,000 to her personal Venmo. She said it was for tax purposes. I didn't think much of it at the time, but now I'm wondering if that was legit. I have all the records if you need them. Invoice, payment confirmations, everything. I just thought you should know. I stared at the message. Maya had been splitting client payments, routing some through her business account, which would appear on tax returns, and some through personal accounts, which wouldn't. That wasn't for tax purposes. That was tax evasion. I thanked David and asked him to send everything to my email. Within an hour, I had invoices from 3 other clients, all showing the same pattern. Large projects split between business and personal accounts, with the personal portions never appearing on our tax returns. I forwarded it all to Rachel and the tax attorney with a subject line, "More tax fraud evidence." Rachel's response was immediate. Danny, this is serious. Really serious. Maya could be looking at criminal charges. And if the IRS determines you knew about this, you could be charged as an accomplice. We need to prove you had no knowledge. Did you ever handle Maya's business finances? Did you ever see her invoices or client communications? I thought back. No. Maya had always insisted on keeping her business finances separate. Professional boundaries, she'd said. I need to feel independent. I'd respected that, trusted that. And she'd used that trust to commit fraud. At 2 p.m., I received a call from an unknown number with a Portland area code. Daniel Chen? End Daniel Chen. Yes, this is Marcus Hale. We need to talk. Every muscle in my body tensed. We have nothing to talk about. Yes, we do. You're destroying Maya's life over a misunderstanding. This whole thing got out of hand, but it doesn't have to be this way. We can work this out like adults. The audacity was breathtaking. Work it out? My voice was cold. You kicked down my hotel room door. You slept in my bed. You've been fucking my wife for 8 months. What exactly do you think we're going to work out? Look, I was drunk that night. I made a mistake. But Maya and I, what we have is real. We're in love. You and Maya, you were over long before I came into the picture. She was miserable with you. If she was so miserable, she should have filed for divorce instead of stealing from me. She didn't steal anything. That was joint money. She had every right to spend it on hotels for her affair, to buy you clothing and gifts, to lie on tax returns about her income so she could hide money from me. I was standing now, pacing the balcony. Marcus, I know about your bankruptcy. I know about the lawsuits. I know about Sarah Chen and the restraining order. You're a con artist, and Maya was stupid enough to fall for it. Silence. Then, You've been digging into my past? I'm an accountant. Research is what I do. And here's what I found. You're broke, you're being sued, and you have a pattern of financially exploiting women. So tell me, Marcus, did you actually love Maya, or did you just love our joint bank account? Fuck you. No, fuck you. You destroyed my marriage, damaged hotel property, and helped Maya commit tax fraud. And now you're going to face the consequences, both of you. Maya said you were vindictive. She was right. Maya also said she was at a design conference when she was actually in a hotel room with you. Maya says a lot of things. Most of them are lies. I took a breath. Here's what's going to happen, Marcus. You're going to be subpoenaed. You're going to testify under oath about your relationship with Maya, about the money she spent on you, about everything. And if you lie, that's perjury. So I suggest you start thinking about whether Maya is worth going to jail for. You can't do this. I already am. The subpoena will be served within the week. Have a good day, Marcus. I hung up. My hands were shaking. Not from fear or anger, from adrenaline, from the rush of finally confronting one of the people who destroyed my life. I immediately called Robert and told him about the conversation. He called you directly? Robert sounded furious. That's witness intimidation, or an attempt at it. Did you record the call? No, I didn't think. It's fine. But Daniel, if he contacts you again, don't answer. Let it go to voicemail. Record it, if possible. Any attempt to dissuade you from pursuing the divorce or legal action could be considered harassment or obstruction. He said Maya told him I was vindictive. Of course she did. She's building a narrative where she's the victim and you're the abuser. It's classic Darvo deny, attack, reverse victim and offender. She denies the affair was wrong, attacks your character, and positions herself as the real victim of your vindictiveness. Will a judge see through that? With the evidence we have? Absolutely. Judges see this pattern all the time. The spouse who got caught trying to claim the spouse who caught them is the real villain. It never works when there's documentation. At 4 p.m., I received an email from Maya's lawyer. Mr. Chen, I am writing on behalf of my client, Maya Chen, to formally request that you cease all contact with third parties regarding the dissolution of your marriage. It has come to our attention that you have been discussing private marital matters with various individuals, including but not limited to mutual acquaintances, former clients of Ms. Chen, and members of both families. These communications are causing significant emotional distress to my client and may constitute harassment. We ask that you direct all communication through our offices and refrain from further attempts to damage Ms. Chen's reputation or business relationships. Additionally, we must object in the strongest terms to your apparent campaign to portray Ms. Chen in a negative light on social media and through private channels. This behavior is unbecoming and potentially actionable. We trust you will govern yourself accordingly. Sincerely, Jennifer Wu, Esquire, Cascade Family Law. I forwarded it to Robert with one word. Thoughts? His response came within minutes. This is desperation. They're trying to intimidate you into silence because they know the more people hear the truth, the worse Maya looks. You have every right to discuss your divorce with family and friends. You have every right to respond to people who contact you with information. And you haven't posted anything on social media, I checked. I'll respond formally, but ignore this. It's a bluff. They're hoping you'll get scared and stop investigating. So I kept investigating. By 6 p.m., I had compiled a new document, Complete Financial Analysis, Maya Chen Business Accounts, 2023 to 2024. Using the business account statements Maya had been forced to disclose, cross-referenced with invoices from clients who'd contacted me, I'd constructed a picture of systematic tax fraud. Total reported income on 2024 tax return, $28,000. Actual documented income from business account, $68,412. Additional income routed through personal accounts, approximately $35,000 based on client reports. Estimated total unreported income, $75,412. That was more than double what she'd claimed, which meant we'd underpaid taxes by approximately $18,000 plus penalties and interest. But it also meant something else. Maya had somewhere between $50,000 and $75,000 in undocumented income over the past 18 months. Money that should have gone into our joint accounts or our house down payment fund. Where had it gone? I created a new spreadsheet tracking every deposit into Maya's personal accounts that I could identify, then tracking withdrawals and transfers. The pattern that emerged was damning. Regular transfers to Marcus Hale via Venmo, $12,400 total. Cash withdrawals on dates corresponding to hotel stays, $8,200 total. Purchases at luxury retailers, Nordstrom, Saks, boutiques, $15,600 total. Unexplained transfers to an account I couldn't identify. $22,000 total. That last one bothered me. $22,000, transferred in amounts ranging from $500 to $3,000, always on the first of the month, going to an account number I didn't recognize. I sent the information to Rachel. Can we subpoena records for this account number? I need to know where this money went. Her response, already on it. That's a valid discovery request tracing marital funds. We'll include it in the motion to compel. At 8 p.m., James called. Daniel, I need to tell you something. Maya came to my office today. Your office? She knows where you work? She was waiting in the lobby when I came back from lunch. Security tried to stop her, but she made a scene, crying, saying I was her brother, that I couldn't just abandon her. What did she say? She begged me to talk to you, said if you keep pursuing this, if all the financial stuff becomes public record, she could go to jail. She's terrified, Daniel. I've never seen her like this. Good. I told her that if she'd committed crimes, she should probably get a criminal defense attorney instead of begging family members to help her cover it up. She called me a heartless bastard and left. He sighed. But Daniel, I need you to know, Mom's not talking to me. Dad called and said I'm choosing sides and that family should stick together. Maya's convinced them all that you're making this up, that you're abusive, that you're trying to destroy her out of spite. I'm sorry, James. Don't be. I made my choice. I'm standing by it. But I wanted you to know what you're up against. The Lin family is circling the wagons around Maya. They're going to fight you on this. Let them. I have receipts. They have lies. Receipts win. After we hung up, I stood on the balcony and watched the sun set over the Pacific. The sky was ablaze with color, orange, pink, purple, gold, beautiful, and indifferent to human drama. I thought about Maya's family, about the narrative she'd constructed, about the people who believed her because belief was easier than accepting that someone they loved had done something unforgivable. They'd learn. Eventually, they'd all learn. Because the truth doesn't care about family loyalty. The truth doesn't care about social pressure. The truth just is, immutable and patient, waiting to be discovered. And I was very good at discovering truth. At 10 p.m., I received one final email. From Sarah Chen, the woman who'd gotten the restraining order against Marcus. Daniel, I've been subpoenaed to testify in your divorce proceedings. My lawyer says I don't have to comply since I'm not a party to the divorce, but I want to. I want to tell the truth about Marcus. But I need you to know something. After our conversation, I did some research. I found Maya's social media, her Instagram stories, her posts about being betrayed in her darkest moment. I've seen this before, with Marcus. He convinces women that they're the victims, that everyone else is against them, that he's the only one who understands. It's textbook manipulation. Maya might be a willing participant in the affair. She might have knowingly stolen from you. But she's also likely another one of Marcus's victims. He's very good at finding vulnerable people and exploiting them. I'm not saying this to defend her. What she did to you is unforgivable. But when this all comes out, when she realizes what Marcus really is, she's going to crash hard. And I just wanted you to be prepared for that. Some of us who've survived Marcus, we've talked about forming a support group. If Maya ever reaches out, If she ever admits what happened, tell her she can contact me, not for your sake, for hers. Sarah. I read the email 3 times. Part of me appreciated Sarah's compassion, her ability to see Maya as a victim too, despite everything. But another part, the part that had been betrayed, lied to, stolen from, and discarded that part, didn't care if Maya was a victim. She'd still made choices. She'd still chosen Marcus over me. She'd still spent our money, lied on our taxes, kicked me out of our hotel room. Victim or not, she'd committed those acts. And victim or not, she'd face the consequences. I saved Sarah's email in a folder labeled Character Witnesses and closed my laptop. Tomorrow, the motion to compel would be filed. Maya would have to answer questions she'd been avoiding. The mysterious account would be identified. The tax fraud would be documented. Tomorrow, the discovery would continue. But tonight, I slept, and I dreamed of spreadsheets and courtrooms and truth marching forward like an army of numbers, relentless and unstoppable, crushing every lie in its path. Friday morning arrived with the weight of inevitability. I'd been in Hawaii for 9 days, 9 days that felt simultaneously like a lifetime and like no time at all. The resort had become familiar, the routines comforting, the isolation almost pleasant. But today was different. Today, Maya would be deposed. I wasn't allowed to be in the room. Robert had been clear about that. In Oregon, the deposition would take place at Jennifer Wu's office in Portland, with Maya, her attorney, Robert, via video conference, a court reporter, and a stack of evidence that would make lying very difficult. But I could watch via secure video feed from my hotel room. Robert had set it up the night before, testing the connection, making sure I could see and hear everything even though I couldn't participate. "You need to see this," he'd said. "You need to watch her try to maintain the lie when confronted with proof. It'll help you understand exactly who you married." At 8 a.m. Hawaii time, 11 a.m. in Portland, I sat at the desk in my suite with my laptop open, a legal pad beside me, and a cup of coffee that had already gone cold. The screen showed an empty conference room, a long table, leather chairs, a pitcher of water, boxes of documents stacked against one wall. Then people started arriving. Jennifer Wu entered first mid-40s, perfectly styled, carrying herself with the aggressive confidence of someone who'd built a career on defending the indefensible. She set down her briefcase, arranged documents, checked her phone. Maya entered next, and I felt something twist in my chest. She looked terrible. Not terrible in the way someone looks after a bad night's sleep, terrible in the way someone looks when they've been hollowed out from the inside. Her hair was pulled back in a messy ponytail. She wore no makeup, dark circles under her eyes, a sweater that looked like she'd been sleeping in it. She sat down heavily, hunched over, hands clasped on the table in front of her. Jennifer leaned close, whispering something. Maya nodded but didn't respond. The court reporter arrived, set up her equipment, swore Maya in. Then Robert appeared on the large monitor at the head of the table, his office visible behind him, looking every inch the attorney who'd done this 1,000 times and would win 1,000 more. "Good morning, Miss Chen. I'm Robert Maxwell, attorney for the petitioner, Daniel Chen. Do you understand that you're under oath and that your testimony today is being recorded and may be used in court proceedings?" Maya's voice was barely audible. "Yes." "Please speak up," for the court reporter. "Yes, I understand." Robert shuffled papers. "Let's begin with some basic questions. How long were you married to Daniel Chen?" 6 years. 6 years and 2 months. "And during that marriage, did you maintain joint financial accounts?" "Yes." "Did you have access to those accounts?" "Yes." "Did Daniel have access to your personal accounts?" Maya hesitated. "No." "Why not?" I wanted to keep my business finances separate. For professional reasons." "Did Daniel ever ask to see your business financial records?" "Sometimes, but I told him it was private, that I needed independence." "And he respected that?" "Yes." Robert made a note. "Miss Chen, I'm showing you Exhibit A, a bank statement from your joint checking account for November 2024. Do you recognize this document?" Jennifer Wu interrupted. "We've reviewed this document. My client recognizes it. Miss Chen, I need you to answer for the record. Maya glanced at the paper in front of her. Yes, I recognize it. Please direct your attention to the charge on November 3rd, $485 to Skamania Lodge. Can you explain this charge? I went on a trip with friends. Which friends? Long pause. College friends. Can you name them? I'd rather not involve them in this. Robert's voice remained neutral. Miss Chen, you're under oath. I'm asking you to name the friends you traveled with to Skamania Lodge on November 3rd. Jennifer Wu leaned forward. My client has privacy concerns about identifying. Your client used marital funds for this trip. The petitioner has a right to know who benefited from those funds. Miss Chen, please answer the question. Maya's voice dropped to almost a whisper. Marcus Hale. So it wasn't college friends. It was Marcus Hale. Yes. Just the two of you? Yes. And where did you tell Daniel you were going that weekend? I told him I was in Seattle for a design conference. Was there a design conference? Silence. Miss Chen? No. So you lied to your husband about where you were going, used joint marital funds to pay for a hotel room, and spent the weekend with Marcus Hale. Is that accurate? It's not. It's more complicated than men. Is that accurate? Yes or no? Yes. I watched Maya's face crumble on the screen, watched her realize that every carefully constructed lie was being dismantled piece by piece, and I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just a hollow acknowledgement that this was who she'd always been. I'd just been too trusting to see it. Robert moved through the charges methodically. Each one received the same treatment. Evidence presented, lies exposed, truth extracted like teeth. The Heathman Hotel in December. A girls' weekend that was actually a weekend with Marcus. The Cascade Room on Valentine's Day. Dinner with my mother that was actually dinner with Marcus while I worked late. The Nordstrom purchases. Christmas shopping that was actually buying Marcus a $400 leather jacket. By noon, Portland time, Maya had admitted to 17 separate incidents of lying about her whereabouts, all funded by joint accounts, all involving Marcus Hale. Then Robert moved to the financial records. Miss Chen, I'm showing you Exhibit M, your business bank account statements for 2024. According to these records, you received deposits totaling $68,412. Is that correct? Maya stared at the papers. I'd have to review them more carefully. These are your bank statements. Your deposits. Is the total of $68,412 accurate? I suppose so. And on your joint tax return for 2024, you reported business income of $28,000, correct? Her face went pale. There might have been an error. An error of $40,000? Some of those deposits might have been reimbursements or transfers, not actual income. I see. Can you identify which deposits were reimbursements and which were income? Maya looked at Jennifer Wu, desperate. Her attorney flipped through papers, clearly stalling. We'll need time to review these records and provide a detailed accounting. Miss Chen has had 3 weeks since the divorce was filed to review her financial records. She's under oath. She needs to answer now. Robert's voice was steel, wrapped in politeness. Miss Chen, to the best of your knowledge, were all of these deposits income from your graphic design business? Most of them, yes. So you underreported your income by approximately $40,000. I didn't mean to. It was complicated. Did Daniel know about this discrepancy? No. 2024. Did you intentionally hide income from him? Long silence. Then, barely audible. Yes. Why? Because I needed. She stopped, started again. I needed money that was mine, that he couldn't track, that he couldn't control. But Daniel didn't control your finances, did he? You had complete autonomy over your business accounts. He was always asking questions, always wanting to know where money went, because you were married and filing joint tax returns. That's not control, that's basic financial transparency in a marriage. Jennifer Wu cut in. Objection. Argumentative. Sustained. Robert agreed, backing off smoothly. Let me rephrase. Miss Chen, Did Daniel ever prevent you from accessing money? No. Did he ever tell you what you could or couldn't spend money on? Not exactly. But yes or no? No. So when you hid $40,000 in income, you weren't escaping financial abuse. You were hiding money so you could spend it on Marcus Hale without your husband knowing, correct? That's not... Maya was crying now, full sobs. You're twisting everything. I'm stating facts based on your own bank records. Did you or did you not spend thousands of dollars of hidden income on Marcus Hale? Through tears. Yes. Robert gave her a moment to compose herself, poured her water, waited. Then he moved in for the kill. Miss Chen, I'm showing you Exhibit R records of wire transfers from your personal account to an account ending in 7,392. Do you recognize these transfers? Maya went very still. I'm not sure. There are 14 transfers over the past 18 months, totaling $22,000, $1,500 to $3,000 each, always on the first of the month. You don't remember making these transfers? I might have. I transfer money to various accounts. What is account number 7,392? I don't recall. Robert pulled out another document. I have a subpoena response from Columbia Bank identifying the account holder. Would you like me to read it into the record, or would you prefer to tell us yourself? Jennifer Wu's hand was on Maya's arm now, holding tight. Maya was shaking her head, tears streaming down her face. The account, Robert continued, his voice implacable, is a joint account in the names of Maya Chen and Marcus Hale, opened in January of last year. A joint account that your husband knew nothing about, funded entirely by money you earned and hid from him. Isn't that correct? I can explain, yes or no. Is that account a joint account with Marcus Hale? Yes. End quote. The word hung in the air like a confession. So not only were you having an affair with Marcus Hale, not only were you spending marital funds on him, but you opened a joint bank account with him. You were essentially building a financial life with your affair partner, using money you hid from your husband. Maya was sobbing openly now, her face in her hands. It wasn't supposed to be like this. We had plans. What plans? Marcus and I were going to start a business together. The account was for that, for startup costs. A business doing what? Digital marketing, consulting. I don't know, it kept changing. Did you ever start this business? Not yet. We were still planning. So for 18 months, you transferred $22,000 into a joint account with Marcus Hale for a business that never materialized? He said we needed capital first. He said, once we had enough. Miss Chen, are you aware that Marcus Hale filed for bankruptcy in 2019? She looked up. Mascara streaked down her face. What? Are you aware that he's currently being sued by 2 former business partners for fraud? That's not, he said, those were lies. Are you aware that a woman named Sarah Chen obtained a restraining order against him in 2021 after he defrauded her of $50,000? Maya was shaking her head, over and over. No. He said he was successful. He said he had investors. He said, he lied to you, Miss Chen, just like you lied to your husband. The difference is, your husband has receipts. What do you have? Jennifer Wu finally intervened, standing up. We need a break. My client is clearly distressed. Your client is under oath and in the middle of answering questions about financial fraud. We can break in 10 minutes. I have just a few more questions. Robert waited until Maya looked up again, her face destroyed, everything she'd believed about Marcus and herself crumbling in real time. Miss Chen, how much money is currently in that joint account with Marcus Hale? She whispered something inaudible. Please speak up. $400. $400. Out of $22,000 you deposited. Yes. Where did the rest go? Marcus needed it. For expenses, for investments, for, I don't know. He handled it. Did you ever see documentation of these investments? He said it was complicated, that he'd show me when things were finalized. Miss Chen, Robert's voice gentled. just slightly. Do you understand that Marcus Hale took $21,600 of your money, and you have nothing to show for it? The silence that followed was devastating. Then Maya said, her voice broken and small, "I was so stupid." That's not a question I asked, but yes, you were. Robert shuffled his papers. Let's talk about the Hawaii trip. The deposition continued for another 2 hours. Robert walked Maya through the planning of the Hawaii trip, how she'd booked it without telling me the full cost, how she'd invited Marcus without mentioning it to me, how she'd planned for all 3 of us to be there but had told me it was just the 2 of us reconnecting. So the trip was never about saving your marriage. It was about having a vacation with both your husband and your affair partner. That's not... I thought I could end things with Marcus. I thought if we all spent time together, if he saw how good Daniel was. You thought bringing your husband and your affair partner on the same vacation would somehow resolve the situation? I know it sounds crazy. It sounds like you wanted to have your cake and eat it too. You wanted Daniel's money, Marcus's attention, and no consequences for either. That's not fair. What's not fair, Miss Chen, is what you did to your husband. Now, let's discuss the night of the incident. The night Marcus kicked down your hotel room door. Maya's account matched mine in the basic facts, but diverged in interpretation. Yes, Marcus had kicked down the door, but it was because he was drunk and upset, not violent and entitled. Yes, she'd told me to leave, but it was to prevent a fight, not because she chose Marcus over me. Yes, Marcus had slept in the bed with her. But nothing happened. They were both too upset and tired. Did you try to stop Daniel from leaving? I thought he'd just go to another room. I didn't think he'd... Did you try to stop him? No. Did you go after him? No. Did you call him to explain or apologize? Not right away. I was in shock. You called him the next day, after he'd already canceled all the payments, after you realized you had no money and no way home. That's when you called. I was panicking. You were facing consequences. That's different. By 3 p.m. Portland time, the deposition was over. Maya was a wreck. Jennifer Wu was furious, and Robert was calmly packing up his documents like he'd just completed routine paperwork instead of systematically dismantling someone's entire defense. We'll break here, Robert said. Miss Chen, you'll need to provide complete documentation of the joint account with Marcus Hale, including all withdrawals and their purposes. You'll also need to provide amended tax information showing your actual income. All of this within 15 days. If you fail to comply, we'll file another motion to compel and request sanctions. Jennifer Wu was already pulling Maya toward the door, whispering urgently. The video feed cut out. I sat in my hotel room in Hawaii, looking at the blank screen, and I realized I was shaking. Not from anger, not from vindication, from relief. Because I just watched Maya admit to everything. Every lie, every theft, every betrayal. Under oath, on the record, undeniable. And I'd also watched her realize what Marcus really was. Not a successful entrepreneur, not a supportive partner, not someone building a future with her. A con artist who'd taken her money and left her with nothing but broken promises and an empty bank account. She'd betrayed me for a man who'd betrayed her. The poetry of it was almost perfect. At 4 p.m., Robert called. Did you watch? All of it. Then you know. We won. Not officially, the trial hasn't happened yet, but we won. She admitted to everything that matters. The affair, the financial deception, the tax fraud, the joint account with Marcus. A judge could watch that deposition and make a ruling right now in our favor. What happens next? She has 15 days to provide the additional documentation. Then we move to settlement negotiations, because Daniel, her lawyer, is going to strongly advise her to settle. If this goes to trial, if all of this becomes public record, Maya could face criminal charges, tax evasion, fraud, possibly others. Her lawyer knows this. Maya might not fully understand it yet, but she will. Will she settle? If she's smart, But smart hasn't exactly been her strong suit lately. After we hung up, I walked out onto the balcony. The sun was beginning its descent toward the horizon, turning everything golden. Below, families played in the pool. Couples walked hand in hand along the beach, the world continuing in its ordinary way. I thought about Maya sitting in that conference room, realizing that Marcus had stolen from her the same way she'd stolen from me, realizing that every promise he'd made was a lie, realizing that she'd thrown away a marriage, a future, everything for nothing. Part of me felt sorry for her. Most of me didn't, because I'd given her everything. My trust, my love, my money, my future, and she'd spent it all on a con artist who'd never loved her at all. That was a choice she'd made, and now she got to live with it. My phone buzzed. Text from James. Maya just called me, crying so hard I could barely understand her. She said Marcus stole her money, that she didn't know about his past, that she's ruined everything. I told her I couldn't help her. She needs to face what she's done. Was I too harsh? I typed back, no, she needs to face it. That's the only way she'll ever heal. And James, thank you for standing by the truth, even when it cost you your family. His response, truth matters more than comfort. Dad taught us that. Funny that Maya forgot. I set down my phone and watched the sun sink lower. Tomorrow I would start planning my return to Portland. The case was essentially won. My evidence had held up. Maya's lies had crumbled. But tonight, I sat in the Hawaiian sunset and I let myself feel everything I'd been holding back. The grief of a marriage ending, the anger at being betrayed, the satisfaction of justice being served, the sadness of wasted years, the relief of freedom, all of it washing over me like waves, each emotion distinct and valid and real. And when the sun finally disappeared below the horizon, when the sky faded from gold to purple to dark blue, I went inside and slept the sleep of someone who'd fought a war and won. Not by being cruel, not by being vindictive, but by being thorough, methodical, and devoted to truth. Receipts don't lie, and neither, anymore, did I. The call came on a Tuesday morning, 11 days after the deposition. I was back in Portland by then, staying in a furnished apartment downtown while the divorce finalized. The Hawaii trip felt like a fever dream, something that had happened to someone else in another lifetime. But the spreadsheets on my laptop were real. The court documents were real. The empty space where my marriage used to be was very, very real. Daniel. Robert's voice carried a tone I hadn't heard before, almost satisfied. Maya's attorney just sent over a settlement proposal. I set down my coffee. Already. They're motivated. After that deposition, after the tax attorney contacted Maya about potential criminal charges, after Marcus apparently cleaned out their joint account and disappeared, yeah, they want this over. Marcus disappeared. According to Jennifer Wu, he stopped returning Maya's calls 3 days ago. The $400 left in their joint account, he withdrew it. Then he blocked her on everything. Classic con artist exit strategy. I should have felt vindication. Instead, I just felt tired. What's the proposal? Maya waives all claims to joint assets. You keep the house down payment fund, what's left of it, about $15,000. You keep your car, your retirement accounts, everything in your name. She keeps her car and her business assets. That's it? Not quite. She's also agreeing to take full responsibility for the tax liability, all penalties, interest, back taxes. She'll file an amended return claiming the unreported income and absolving you of any knowledge or responsibility. And in exchange, you agree not to pursue criminal charges, you agree not to sue Marcus Hale for alienation of affection or financial damages, and you agree to a non-disparagement clause neither of you publicly discusses the details of the divorce. I walked to the window, looked out at the Portland skyline. Gray clouds, misting rain. The city I'd lived in for a decade suddenly feeling foreign. She wants to hide what she did. She wants to avoid prison and bankruptcy. The non-disparagement clause protects both of you, technically. But yes, It primarily benefits her. What do you recommend? Robert was quiet for a moment. Honestly, take it. You've won everything that matters. You're getting the assets, she's taking the tax debt, and you're walking away clean. The criminal charges, even if you pursued them, prosecution isn't guaranteed. The lawsuit against Marcus would be expensive, and he's judgment-proof anyway. This settlement gives you closure and protection, but the truth doesn't become public record. No, it stays in sealed court documents. Most people will never know the full story. He paused. Is that what you need? Public vindication? I thought about that, about Maya's Instagram posts, her narrative of being the victim, the people who'd believed her story without question, about the satisfaction of having every receipt, every lie, every betrayal entered into public record for anyone to see. Then I thought about moving forward, about rebuilding, about the energy it would take to pursue criminal charges, to testify in court, to relive the betrayal over and over in depositions and hearings and trials. How long do I have to decide? They want an answer by Friday. I spent 2 days wrestling with the decision. Rachel argued for taking the settlement. You've already won, Danny. Don't let the pursuit of perfect justice prevent you from accepting good justice. Take the W and move on. James was less certain. Whatever you decide, I support. But I know my sister. If there are no public consequences, she'll spin this. She'll tell everyone you settled because you knew you'd lose in court. She'll never acknowledge what she did. Sarah Chen, Marcus's ex, sent me an email. Sometimes the best revenge is living well. Not making them suffer, just refusing to let them make you suffer anymore. On Thursday night, I sat in my temporary apartment with a glass of whiskey and a legal pad, making a list. If I take the settlement, I get my money back. I avoid further legal battles. I protect myself from tax liability. I move forward faster. Maya faces no public consequences. The full truth stays hidden. If I refuse, potential criminal prosecution of Maya, potential lawsuit against Marcus, years more of legal battles, public vindication, exhaustion, continued entanglement with people I want to forget. I stared at the lists for a long time. Then I picked up my phone and called Robert. I'll take the settlement, with one modification. What modification? I want a clause stating that if Maya or Marcus ever publicly misrepresents the facts of our divorce, if either of them claims I was abusive or controlling, or that I fabricated evidence, the non-disparagement clause is void, and all sealed records become available for my use. Robert was silent, thinking, that's actually brilliant. It's a truth insurance policy. She can stay quiet about the details, but she can't lie. I'll propose it. Friday at 3 p.m., Jennifer Wu accepted the modification. By 5 p.m., both attorneys had drafted the final settlement agreement. By Monday, both Maya and I had signed. It was over. 6 years of marriage, 8 months of betrayal, 2 weeks of legal warfare, all reduced to a 23-page settlement agreement with our signatures at the bottom. I sat in my apartment that night, the executed documents on the table in front of me, and I waited to feel something. Relief, maybe, or triumph, or grief. Instead, I felt quiet, the kind of quiet that comes after a storm has passed, when the world is still and damp and the air smells like rain and new things growing. My phone buzzed. Text from an unknown number. This is Maya. I know I'm not supposed to contact you, but I need you to know. I'm sorry. For all of it. You deserved better. I hope someday you can forgive me. Not for my sake. For yours. I read it 3 times. Then I deleted it without responding. Forgiveness wasn't something I owed her. Maybe someday I'd find it for my own peace. But not today. Today, I just needed to be free. 2 weeks later, I signed a lease on a new apartment. 1 bedroom, high floor, view of the city and mountains. Space that was mine alone, unmarked by memories of Maya or the life we'd built on lies. I hung my spreadsheets on the wall, not as trophies, but as reminders. That documentation matters. That truth matters. That trust is precious and should be given carefully. James helped me move in, along with Rachel, who flew down from Seattle. We ordered pizza, drank beer, sat on my empty living room floor, and talked about everything and nothing. "You did it," Rachel said, raising her bottle. "You survived." "More than survived," James added. "You won." I looked at my sister, my friend, the people who'd stood by me when everything fell apart, and I realized something. I hadn't just documented Maya's betrayal. I documented who stood with me, who chose truth over comfort, who proved that some relationships are built on something stronger than blood or history. "Yeah," I said. "I guess I did." Later, after they left, I stood at my window, looking out at Portland. The city lights were coming on, scattered across the darkening landscape like stars. My phone buzzed one last time. Email from Robert with the subject line, "Final Divorce Decree, Chen v. Chen." I opened the attachment. Official court seal, judge's signature, final decree of dissolution. Effective immediately, I was no longer married to Maya Lin Chen. I was just Daniel Chen, accountant, truth-teller, survivor, man with receipts. I closed the laptop, poured myself a drink, and toasted the empty apartment. To endings that needed to happen, to documentation as self-defense, to the quiet power of knowing the truth, and to whatever came next. 6 months later, I was sitting in a coffee shop in Northwest Portland when I saw her, Maya. She was at the counter, ordering something complicated with oat milk and extra shots, her hands moving nervously as she spoke to the barista. She looked different, thinner, older somehow, with shorter hair and clothes that didn't quite fit right. She hadn't seen me yet. I could have left. Should have left, probably. But I stayed. When she turned with her drink, our eyes met. She froze. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she walked over, hesitant, like approaching a wild animal that might bolt. "Daniel, Maya, can I?" She gestured to the empty chair across from me. I nodded. She sat down, gripping her coffee cup like a lifeline. "I know we're not supposed to talk. The settlement. The settlement says we can't publicly disparage each other. It doesn't say we can't be civil." She nodded, looking down. "You look good. Healthy. Thanks. You look." I paused, choosing honesty over kindness. "Like you've been through something." A bitter laugh. That's one way to put it. She took a breath. "Marcus took everything. The money in our account. Some things I'd stored at his place. Even my grandmother's necklace I'd left there. Just gone." "I know. Of course you know. You tried to tell me. Sarah Chen tried to tell me. But I didn't listen." She looked up, eyes red. "I destroyed my marriage. My family won't speak to me. I'm in debt to the IRS for $40,000, and I have nothing to show for it except the knowledge that I'm an idiot." I sipped my coffee, said nothing. "I'm not asking for sympathy," she continued, "or forgiveness. If I ever get the chance, I want you to know I understand now. What I did to you, what I threw away." "You were good to me, Daniel. You were loyal and kind, and I repaid that with lies." "Yes," I said simply. "You did." She flinched, but nodded. Are you seeing anyone? That's not really your business anymore." "Right. Of course." She stood up, gathering her things. "I should go. I just wanted to say thank you for not pursuing criminal charges. My lawyer said you could have destroyed me completely. I thought about it. Why didn't you?" I considered the question. Because destroying you wouldn't have healed me, and in the end, that's what mattered more. She nodded slowly, tears sliding down her cheeks. "I hope you find someone who deserves you. I hope you find yourself," I replied. "The real version, not the one Marcus wanted, or the one you thought you should be. The actual you." She left without another word. I sat there for a while longer, finishing my coffee, watching the Portland rain streak the windows. And I realized something. I felt nothing. No anger, no satisfaction, no lingering pain. Just peace. The receipts had done their job. The truth had been told. Justice had been served. Now it was just my life. stretching forward, full of possibility and unmarked by the past. I paid for my coffee, left a generous tip, and walked out into the rain. Behind me, the past. Ahead of me, everything else.